Dumbzone podcast.
Hello there. Let me talk to you about my close personal friends at Fair Lease. It's right there in the name. They're going to treat you fairly. It's right there in the name. They're going to lease you a vehicle. If that's something you're interested in, maybe you're looking at that old hunk of junk and thinking, you know what? The opposite sex hasn't looked at this car and thought, I wonder what that person's about in years. Then it's time for you to check out Fair Lease at fairlease.org. White glove service. That means stem to stern, from beginning to end. They're taking care of you. You can do this whole thing, in a swing with a GIMP mask on. It doesn't matter. You don't have to leave your house. Just go to fairlease.org, click request a quote, then select the Dumb Zone on the How Did You Hear About Us page. And we are all good money with Fair Lease.
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I never listen, I'm gonna listen. I wanna listen to the Dumb Zone.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. It's Put Your Garbage Out night because you got to remember for tomorrow morning. If you didn't remember for Monday night and you're overloaded with garbage, that's not a anecdotal phrase at all. I'm Dan McDowell.
I'm Jake Kemp.
I'm Blake Jones.
Got a lot of garbage at the house.
Yeah.
And we got Clayton here as well, and we are in our downtown Dallas studios at the Fox 4 building.
How do you have a lot of garbage? You got a lightweight speedball operation running over there.
We've been doing some cleaning.
Yeah?
We're spring cleaning.
You don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
Well, I hope this weekend I have that garage earmarked. You've seen my garage.
Well, the great thing about
There's
you...
just too much.
And
that's why I said, if you guys need some like little kid stuff,
I may
baseball
take you up
bats,
on that. I've got
100 softballs.
Dan's being humble, though. Dan's the guy who shows up to the job interview and is just like, my biggest weakness is I'm a perfectionist. His garage is fine. His garage is like...
Not after I've been to your garage.
He's
Now
got
I'm like,
it's
oh,
great.
man.
He's got like an 80 to 90th percentile clean garage. But that's not what he's about.
Can always get better.
Can always get better.
Northeast Ohio, nothing but clean garages.
and people living in them. They have a lot of homeless.
So I've reached a new low. I'm always trying to. We are trying to get better. Like personal lives.
1% Atomic Habits every day.
And
gotta hand it to Kat on that one. He recommended that book.
Part of getting better, I think, is like my lists.
Yeah.
And I know you're a big list guy, and you're seeing something on your list that I'm not doing, and you're like, hey, did you remember to do that? And that's helping me a lot. Because I'm like, yeah, actually, I put it back on, top of the list and all this.
Hey, listen, I view it as you and I Eiffel Towering the show.
But here's where I think I fell to a new low. Like, for instance, today on the list, I wanted to remind myself, at 11:15, hang calendar in studio. So we have a show calendar, and I thought, you know what, this should be hanging in our studio somewhere. And it's the 1st of May.
Yeah.
So I thought, this would be a great day for the world to see us dressed as the boys.
That's a great one.
Rose and my mom were looking at this calendar this weekend, and we went on
Wet n Wild?
speakerphone so that Rose could ask me questions about the calendar. This was one of them, and they wanted to know who's the guy that we always dress up as a lady.
My kids ask the same thing.
It's a recurring theme.
How have you become that guy?
What do you mean?
The fact that you're homophobic would seem to mean that you wouldn't want to be that guy.
And it would seem to mean that's why.
Anyway,
no, I love the calendar.
But I'm only saying all this to say, so yeah, I had that on my list, so it's still there because I haven't really hung it up. But I actually got it out of the bag and I'm laying it here, so like that's a good step.
Mm-hmm.
Cross that off the list.
Like laundry.
If I move something across the house, like towards where I want to put it away.
You saw my method the other day.
I have now done something.
Yeah, I mean, you got a table. It's not being used. I'll fold the laundry throughout a day and then put it up.
Yeah.
Don't.
But anyway, I feel like this is a new low. I have never put have sex on the list, but certainly we are all aware that there is scheduled sex. And I don't know how, sometimes it's kind of an unwritten rule type thing, but you both know we're just not going to be doing it until we're going to have a free moment Saturday evening, and that might be the next time we actually can have sex.
Yeah,
So
I
you're
agree.
kind of gearing up for it. And,
There is an
But you're
unspoken
empty
thing.
nesters. How is it not?
Nah, but everybody's always got something going on.
well, we just stopped having sex once you're empty net. But I'm just saying, I'm just pointing out a common thing that people think, oh, you put that on your schedule? Sex is an odd one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as you grow up and you have a couple kids and whatever, you're like, actually, I'm now that guy.
Got to do it.
I have now scheduled sex.
So what could this be?
Well, no, but I scheduled this and I didn't complete the task until late last night. But it was a 7 a.m. because I knew I had to be in my bedroom for it to hit, or else I wouldn't do it. But it's like every day later in the day, I scheduled on my list cut fingernails.
Yeah?
Because it would be like at night, and I'd be, oh, man. And so, I actually had to schedule that. And then by last night, it had the little red next to it because I hadn't accomplished it by 7 a.m. And
Yeah, no, I don't think
so,
there's
then I
anything wrong
crossed
with
it
that
off
at
and
all.
felt great.
Bro, I write down, like, take my kid to school. I write down the whole day by
Do you do
time.
it so that you can know what time I got to leave and stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can see that, yeah. No, I'll tell myself leave for show at 10 a.m.
If
and then
I
it's
don't
like
write down-
10:15 and I'm leaving.
If I don't write down things like cut fingernails, it's not going to happen. So that's a good one. But I don't cut my fingernails, so I just bite them. Is that not normal?
You're not supposed to.
I don't bite my fingernails out of like anxiety or as a habit, but I trim them with my teeth.
I rip them.
You do rip them.
That's fun. That's you get a little cut, then
What?
pull. You guys don't do that?
What do you do the cut with?
That's
Nail
horrifying.
clippers?
With another nail.
I mean, I guess I've
last
done
night
it. It's not efficient. But
What
when
is
people say
wrong with you two?
Last
when
night
people
I
say
actually
they're gonna
did
clip
cut
their
them
nails
with a clipper.
That's what they mean.
Last night I did with a clipper, but generally they get a little long. So then you give it a little,
Dude, no.
I don't like-
saw.
I don't
in the
like
middle.
that.
No.
You,
You know-
saw it, and then you can
Well, let me tell you
peel
the
it
problem.
over here, and
the
then you
the
peel it
problem
over here.
with that is that, I guess like if you had a bad saw, the start of the cut is not going to be as clean as the rest of it.
Oh, right. No,
but
no,
with with your tooth, you can kind of like give it a little straight line and then go across. I can't remember the last time I used fingernail clippers.
I've never toothed it.
That's the only way I
Never.
do it.
Never been.
I do it with my toenails too.
We need to look at your calcium intake if you're able to cut nail with nail, because your nails should be stronger than that.
Yeah, well, you got little baby nails.
What do you
up
mean?
there, bitch?
Your
got little baby
your
nails? You can take
fingernails
some
should be
vitamins.
stronger. It's like
What do you mean?
thicker.
Oh, you shouldn't be
you
able
shouldn't
to
be
cut
able
it?
to like cut it with your own.
Either you have superhuman strength or baby little fingernails.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna get a lot of support on this one.
You might. I don't know. I
You
just
won't.
I bite mine.
I don't like to do that because then you can rip it too far, and now you're ripping
Yeah.
skin, and
Yeah, that can't
That's
be a
why-
problem. That's kind of the
that's
excitement.
why I put on my list cut fingernails. I don't want to be subjected to just ripping my nails there at night and then just kind of throwing them somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, in the
I,
garbage.
there's
I'll throw
nothing
them
you
in the
can
garbage.
schedule, and I'm going to be like, that's weird. Nothing. And it's funny because when I was a kid, like my mom kind of used to dump on my dad a little bit for this because he would always call at the same time. And oh yeah, it's kind of just an appointment, But now that I'm older and I write down like backyard 20 minutes with both kids, and I'm like, that's the
Oh, you
only-
even schedule that
well, it's just now I know. Like
just to make sure
I'll make sure
that
read book with no.
they can
I
have
don't.
the illusion that you love them
That's right.
when they grow up. Like, oh, Dad spent time with me.
That's
They'll never remember that, by the way. They're only going to remember the few bad things that stood out in your whole. They won't remember all the positive. This is what I've found.
What if that is a you problem?
It might be,
And
but
people,
they got that Rolodex ready for the 3 bad things I've ever done.
in the same way that you only remember the bad comments from listeners. Those are the ones that they remember off the top of their head. But if you actually think about it, it's better. And I'll tell you, like my daughter, I know is at memory phase. Not
you mean?
maybe too far into it, but 6.5, you're having memories. You'll remember
Oh.
this time.
Yeah.
And like a group of friends, the group of friends where the Spectrum flags were assaulted at the winery, they're going camping. It's like 6 families. this Saturday. It's a quick trip. Like, I think you get there at 4. You're gone the next morning on Sunday. It's at Grapevine Lake.
Are you going?
Well, and my wife is like beaten. She's out of town today. She's got a long week work, whatever. It's a Saturday where we don't have anything going on. She's like, I don't feel like doing this. And I'm like, dude, we gotta go. This is the sort of stuff that you don't just skip because it's a beating.
Ooh.
Like your kid, like these are her best friends that she went to school with. Now she doesn't see him anymore. And now they're getting together on a weekend. Like, you got to give them that chance. If I were a kid and I knew my parents just didn't want to go because they were beaten by it, I'd WTF, mate. So what's the sweat for me? Like, I go out there, I'm going to be in bed at 8:30 anyways. Hit the early bird, shoot the shit with some people I don't know. And my kid will, small chance, remember that when she's like 20. So,
Yeah, at least be able to say I went camping once.
yeah, especially if like she gets killed by a snake, or I guess you wouldn't be able to say it.
You don't hate camping, right?
No.
Okay.
I got no objections. I don't have to cook. You establish yourself as a guy who's not reliable on the grill pretty quickly, and a guy who will clean.
There's always a guy who really wants to be the guy.
And I'll be his counterpart.
Yeah.
I love that guy. And that guy knows you need anything, I'll go get it.
That's why I'll
climb a mountain for you.
I'll clean up.
Yeah. For sure.
Know your role.
I did something earlier this week that I was telling Dan about yesterday or whenever we spoke last. So I'm not a meal prep guy. I've never been able to fully knock it down. Like, I am a Factor guy, to be honest with you. We use Factor. We don't get it cheaper, free. I'm a Factor customer.
Someone else prep your meal.
Yeah. And, we don't – you Factor even then, it's like 6 to 8 meals a week. You need a little bit more, but I've never really fully meal prepped. We try to be good about eating at home. It probably averages out to like 2.5, 3 nights a week, but I just feel like our shopping for meal stuff is poor. Like, we got a bunch of stuff that's like, we have 50 spices and sauces here. What are we doing? So I know what I like. I know what vegetables and meat reheats good. Well, so I just hopped on the old Gemini, the Google AI, and I was like, this is the spices and stuff that I have. These are the vegetables that I like reheated, peppers and broccoli. These are the types of food I like. I have 15 minutes to cook each one of these meals. I need 2 servings for adults plus a little leftovers. And it just gave me a grocery shopping list, subtracting all the stuff I already had. And then I just made those 4 meals and ate them this week. Now, I know that's simple. You could just do it on Google and look up 4 recipes. But I wanted to like buy as little amount of stuff as possible. So I just said as little as I can get for 4 meals for a vegetable, whatever, meat, this. And it was, for whatever reason, the robot telling me to do it made it more straightforward, and I did it. And it worked out fine.
My mom's real old.
Yeah.
As moms are. She mailed me a cookbook.
Any particular theme to this
Yeah, it
cookbook?
was like seafood cookbook.
Was it
She
your
knows.
birthday present?
I think it was just, it might have been birthday. It was pretty recent, so it could have been. But the point is,
how many recipes down are we? Are you knocking
none,
them out?
0. It was such a giant book too,
Oh, yeah.
It's like well-meaning.
Yeah.
But what am I going to do with this?
No, listen.
Let's say I make 1 or 2 of these ever.
She just saw a picture of a book with a fish on it and thought of you and got it.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan, you like fish? Here.
Danny likes fish.
Spend a lot of money, and then every weekend she will, because I call her every weekend, and it's like, have you made anything from it yet? I got to now look through it and at least lie.
Fake one.
Next time I talk to her, oh, man, the
shrimp scampi was
whatever.
to die for. We may have just stumbled across something here. What's going on?
Internet.
Internet,
Yeah.
exactly. But even in that era,
I'll just search if
what's going on with cookbooks?
Are they dead?
I don't know. Like, I just feel like my grandmother's entire kitchen and cabinets were just
Oh my gosh.
Southern Living 79 to 95, and they were huge.
Yeah.
And
she'd use it all the time.
she would, but there's no way they needed that many
No.
of them. Couldn't you just write down the one? Practically isn't like, I know they didn't have a Google Doc to copy links to, but couldn't you just be like, well, I have 80,000 recipes in here. Maybe I'll take the 6 and free up all this space that appears like they were everywhere, and they weren't cheap.
No.
I remember buying them as gifts and being like, what the?
See, you're that's part of the thing. Oh, what does Grandma do? I don't know. Let's get her a gift. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe she hated it.
Yeah, she's probably like, God damn, why do
At
I
the
have
risk of
50
telling
and
you
I can't throw away one of these cookbooks.
They come over here all the
little
time.
Jake got me. Yeah.
I at the risk of telling you a second straight TC story on the show that goes nowhere. One time his like aunt thought that he was really into Looney Tunes and specifically Marvin the Martian.
Who isn't?
Like kind of like you with Superman, and he just like kept getting Marvin the Martian gear.
I was like, what are we doing?
What do we? Yeah,
like yeah, somewhere somebody can
X.
come across the idea.
Try Chat
what
GPT.
Was it? Chumbawamba cassette tape. Was that it? That my dad's new wife got me for Christmas one year. I was like,
that's a good one.
What is this? Somehow she got the impression that I was into Chumbawamba. I think it was I get knocked down. I get up again. And
You don't know that song, Blake?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
That.
Why isn't that at sports more? Because it's kind of like a loser song. You don't hear that much in the arena. More just like that pedophile.
Gary Glitter.
Gary, yeah.
So use ChatGPT or Gemini for everything.
No.
Is what I'm telling you. Every issue I have on my computer, every issue I have of like, well, what do I do about this in my home? Immediate.
Hey,
Just do it.
ChatGPT, are the tariffs good? Do you like that on Twitter? The hey Grok, what is?
Oh yeah, I guess I missed that. I've never done.
Do you not?
Is this true?
Is
it
the
seems,
Trump this or that?
seems
good?
to have a little tood to it also.
Or who's the most? Hey Grok, who's the most? Who peddles the most erroneous information? It'll be like, yes, Elon Musk. Blah 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 blah.
Cool, Colbert.
Yeah.
How are these real people? Like they're just walking around living like that.
What? Just
hey, you know, it'd be
yelling
funny is if
all
I
day
asked
long.
This, yeah.
You know, you're one step
Elon.
removed. You're asking it how to cook your food. Next, you're going to be fact checking with it.
That's not even close to using it to try to dunk on someone.
Oh,
That's
speaking
ridiculous.
of politics, that's not really politics, but I finished. I told you I listened to it, but I hadn't finished the whole thing. But I finished this morning. The Harper Weaver, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Weaver?
It is.
Okay. Is running for like Plano School Board, and Jake interviewed him a couple weeks ago. It's on a Business Wednesday. If you go back, and it's really good, and yeah, really some of the stuff in there is really surprising. So I would say give Harper a chance. Go look at what he's got going on. Probably nobody cares about school boards, and you just don't vote for stuff.
No, but
like
if you want to hear and a lot of people right now are just like, I'll turn down. My small rant on it would be, you can vote Saturday, May 3rd.
That's interesting that
It's
you
cool.
have Saturday voting for that, but not for the national election.
Yeah, so early voting concluded. I voted Tuesday. And yeah, Plano's huge. The school board handles a lot of money. But it's a representative of several different pockets of the Metroplex where, there's just the school board turmoil because of changing economics and demographics. And I don't think it makes me like some liberal socialist Marxist to say when the finances get balanced on those decisions, the chopping block, it's usually lower income or socioeconomic strata families that go to the chopping block first. And that just shouldn't be that way, especially if with data you can back up and prove it's not even really saving you any money to fuck them. Like, it's if you could sell me on that.
No, that was his thing. He's just a big data guy, but he's not like I don't want to say he doesn't have a personality. Like, he's just not a bombastic personality that sometimes it helps if you are running for office or something, but, you're I don't know that he's a quant, but he's like a logical guy.
He is a quant. He very much is a quant, but he's he's passionate also.
It was interesting how he just had said, he's just a parent in that district, and they sent a thing out saying, "Hey, we're going to do this. These are the facts. If anybody wants to comment on it or opinion on what we're doing here, please send us some info." So he actually looked into it because he's a quant, I guess, found quite a bit of financial, hey, this isn't good. Put together like a 19-page thing for them, sent it to them, and then they rushed a vote like as soon as they could. Like they didn't expect anybody to. I don't know. It was interesting. So
It's interesting. I mean, we saw what happened in Keller.
but I don't want to.
You know, where that situation blew up in their face to a point where, if I heard or read correctly the other day, you know, like the Republican House in Texas put in a law preventing school districts from trying to do what they did. That's how bad they failed. And that deal was going to be done behind closed doors. So there's lots of stuff like this. And we talked about that lady who was releasing those doves the other day in my district, Tammy Nakamura, who, by the way, not that this is a Kim spin of any sort, by the way, but I did get sent to me the 1 or 2 episodes she did 20 years ago of Wife Swap with a black family, and it's hilarious.
Whoa.
But she's now on the school board in Grapevine. She's about to be reelected, I would imagine. And what I was telling you is about like Patriot Mobile, that company, they fund her and several other candidates all over DFW. And on its face, you're like, oh, it's gross. Like I said, they're just, this cell phone company can just give money to these candidates. But it's just smart. It's just deciding that changing things at a local level mean more to you. So for someone like Harper, like he's got an incredible, like world-class data brain and could probably work for like the government or something, you know, or some private equity. I mean, he did. That's why he was able to retire. But he's applying that to this.
He's retired.
I mean, he doesn't need to work right now.
He's like 30.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I went
Anyway.
and voted Tuesday, and it was a chill time. I know before you guys have noted that I've had.
Well, I didn't vote, and I just want to let everybody know you don't have to vote.
You don't have to vote.
If you
but
want to, you
I
can
didn't
vote
get
for
any
Harper.
arguments. I didn't.
No?
I didn't roll on anything and get yelled at or yell at anyone like before. Just chill vote.
Are you going to be the 70-year-old guy who's at the thing taking people's IDs?
It's not a 0% chance.
Okay.
It's not 0.
I've just always thought, who is this person?
Just got
They-
nothing to do.
They have all day. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, listen, we got a lot to do because we got Eric Nadel late in the show, so that's what we're going to do. Doing things a little out of order, if you care. So we'll do news and today in history before Eric Nadel joins us in a little over an hour. But I know we've got some sports. We got today in Belichick
Oh my gosh.
because there's just so much. But you want to start with some kind of a mailbag?
Yeah, let's do it.
Would you want it to be brought to you by some kind of an HVAC company?
Not just some kind. Community
Community-
Mechanical. They were actually out at my place last week. And yesterday we had a full day of business meetings. And I did those business meetings in the office. And I was able to do that because Community Mechanical made it to where I can have heating and air.
What'd they put in?
A mini split.
Okay, I was talking to Travis yesterday. Yeah, he said mini split.
You know
I was like,
what that
cool,
is?
That sounds great.
Yeah, I have no idea what it is.
No, I don't know what it is either.
All I know is that it's perfect. Like it's out of the way. They did it in a way that it's like as concealed as possible. It's just it's not like real bulky. It's not
They're big listeners
wires
too.
everywhere.
Remember
it's
when
awesome.
Remember when splits used to be huge?
I do, but not now. Not with Community DFW.
Oh, it's like mini?
It's mini.
It's like Dr. Evil and the little one. Anyway,
Dude, did you just reference Austin Powers?
mini me.
Yeah, no.
The word mini. That goes with this. That's really funny. Everybody's laughing. They're big fans of the show. And if
Which
you
is
get,
a good thing.
if you sign up for preventative maintenance, and that's the best kind of maintenance.
Oh my god.
You don't want post-mentative maintenance. Then you're spending tons and tons of money. But preventative maintenance, they will give you $50 in DumbZone merch, and then if you buy a new system, they'll pay for a sit-in where you can sit in studio with us.
Wow.
And is there even a price on that?
Well, yeah. I
Actually,
mean,
there is.
you
There's
you'll get to
$6.99.
show up. You hear more Austin Powers jokes
You get a
if
picture.
you get a new system.
How do you get a hold of Community Mechanical?
CommunityDFW.com. CommunityDFW.com. What's the phone number, Dan? 469-667-7290. You can text them day or night. They said they got a lot of business from that you got free on Ho text campaign I was on. So try it again.
I don't
Text
believe
Travis 469-667-7290.
Oh yeah, wait a minute, Uncle.
Did you give all the numbers?
Hotmail.
Okay, I don't know.
Let it into an
Did I
O.
hit it?
Hotmail. Uncle Hotmail.
The Thursday viewer mail follow-up extravaganza inclement fossil thing.
Gross.
Well, I do have a few sports emails I want to get to, but I'm pretty sure we were all copied on these after our talk about 100 men versus one gorilla. Got a lot of response. And we are going to talk to our resident animal fighting expert, Bradley Folsom, I think next week, but he's a prof.
Yeah, he's doing finals
right now. So we did get a lot of response about that, and a couple of them were similar. One from Chris, one from Michael. I'll read Chris's here. I think I like our odds, the 100 men, as long as we have that dude who fingered that dog's butthole on the team. If you recall recently,
ooh, that's a great one.
Blake showed us a video of a story. I think it might have been from across the pond.
You have to be able to
big
get
dog was attacking a smaller dog, and nobody in the park could get it to drop it until a hero rushed in and started fingering the dog's butthole at like a pneumatic speed. So if somebody can get to that ape's ass,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
They're very protective of their body.
Michael added, that's how you beat the gorilla. One dude has to be willing and I guess eager to robo-finger the beast. As soon as the gorilla's eyes roll back, the remaining 99 can finish him off, so to speak.
Well, again, our communication skills,
Look at this guy.
the ability to work together should be important here, and to be able to identify which person is going to do what thing.
Yeah, I mean,
The problem is who's going to, take the first hits.
You think that's what it comes down to?
It's a problem.
So if we had the Marines, maybe we're good.
What did Micah Parsons say when he was asked if he could beat us all up at the same time on a ticket stock stage? Was I last or was I first? Like, because I was not a threat, I was either last or first, and I can't remember. Like, does he want to take out the tough guy first?
That's a good question.
I can't remember what he had said.
I don't recall either.
But
another one here. This is a sports email because we talked about Shador the other day, but then I jammed up our draft segment with a missed lob. We do have plenty of time to talk about Shador. I just cut off the segment. We had more Shador, and Chris emailed. This is his thoughts. I like it. Deion convinced everyone from himself, the media, and his son that he was a sure first rounder. Everyone nodded and agreed, except for actual NFL teams. He didn't fall from a first rounder. He never was a first rounder anywhere but in our minds due to the media believing the hype from Deion. Is he as bad as a fifth? Probably not, but that's where Deion convincing his son he's a surefire first rounder comes in. His son decided to only interview with a few teams. He didn't work out at the combine, didn't go to the pro day at the Big 12, blah, blah, blah. A lot of things that other teams would want a good, not great QB to do. The world's expectations were set too high, and then Shador didn't do the things the other QBs did to endure himself to NFL teams. That's like I think that's a really concise way to put it, is that the hype machine was self-fulfilling. Because once you think, boy, there's like 5 QB needy teams in the first half of the first round, and I'm QB 1 or 2 here, maybe you don't. Maybe you do show up a little more FU attitude.
well, the thing is, are you sure you're 1 or 2?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that nobody seems to have ever thought that but them. Like, all these interviews and all these things I'm reading in the aftermath are like every team is saying, we never told anyone that. We never thought that.
But Dane Brugler and
Mel Kiper.
obviously Mel Kiper
And here's the
was a very
thing.
vocal one this weekend.
As crazy as this sounds, I agree with the public. I think he's considerably better than Dylan Gabriel. And, I saw some people
Well, then
yesterday
that's where it
push
gets
back
into-
on Milroe, but
That's
it's
where
like,
we get into other stuff then.
right.
The president tweeting about him.
Yeah, the president
Deion's-
tweeting about him, and
Deion's constant presence, looming presence, which is different than if you were complaining about the Mannings weren't treated like – there wasn't this constant thing with Arch Manning.
but not only is there this that's the part we talked about the other day, but there's also going to be a thing where And he seems like he's handling it great. But you're also going to have to deal with a guy who 5 days ago thought he was going in the top 10 of the draft. And now is this. It's not just like the Dion factor. It's that the whole thing is super weird, and he and his family created it. There's no other reason that he would have been expecting to go that high. So now it just became a story, and he didn't prepare for the draft because he thought he'd go higher. He didn't go to test and do this and that and this and that. So probably he would have gone in like the third round.
I wonder if they
know what I mean?
miscalculated in the not working out at the combine that could only hurt him because he's like one of the top 2 or 3 players.
Exactly.
When it actually might have actually helped him.
From the bottom to top, them thinking we have this in the bag is why he went in the 5th round. And it's a really fascinating draft story.
I got one entitled Subject Line Wife Guy.
Yes.
Y'all are wrong about wife guys, at least partially. I know 2 wife guys that are like that, and one is because he cheated, like you always say, but the other is because she cheated on him. They were going to get a divorce. The next thing we know, they're reconciled and more in love than ever before, and he has gone full wife guy. Tons of lovey-dovey posts and constant we're so happy pictures, like a newlywed couple, even though they've been together forever.
And everyone knows.
Sometimes the wife guy phenomenon is just to play defense against her doing it again, because now she's getting that constant admiration that she lacked before, which, quote, drove her into the other guy's arms.
Damn, son.
Somebody cheated, but it's not always him. That's interesting.
That is interesting, and I just I guess I would just say stop short of everything being public. But if I guess the cheating part is public, then the wife guying part needs to be public. Because all your love for your wife, because that happened, just do it behind closed doors.
See, I don't lose respect for a guy if he stays with a lady who cheated on him.
No.
Because I'm thinking he's got a card. He's got something in his pocket. You know, whether it's
Leverage.
Huh?
Just leverage. Yeah.
Yeah, overtly stated or not. And then if he ever does stray.
Do you think society...
Like, oh, I'm sorry, honey. I mean, you know how it is.
Do you think society will ever get to a point where it's just like open marriage is just common?
Maybe.
Because that feels like one of those things that we're not really any closer to than we were. I mean, people get divorced and stuff now, but that's not... Is it common?
I think we read more about it now than we ever have.
Well, we're also...
It's more common to have kids out of wedlock and all that. And
for sure.
Then you might be just kind of dating.
Interestingly enough, it feels like a new age idea. It's actually a very old idea. But, and, you know, we have a remote coming up with the 2-wife guy from Scenario.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait.
Yes.
They're going to be there, I think.
They're all 3 going to be there. That is correct.
I just want the 2 there.
I got a quick follow-up here from Katie on the man who got tased me bro'd at Love Field that we were talking about. So the story as reported, and the story I saw, was that the guy was in line about to get on a plane. You can tell he's through security, and 2 plainclothes officers stop him, and they say, "We think you're someone we have a warrant for drugs for," and he gets pissed off, but doesn't really freak out. He just is saying no. And they tased him, and that's why he wants an apology. He did have a warrant for a traffic citation. It was not the warrant they were looking for. So she said he wasn't resisting. He was talking to officers. This is Katie, standing with his hands by his side. They claimed he was someone they thought had drugs or a warrant for drugs. He's a chef from Frisco and was taking food to his elderly mom in another state. So, to rewind the tape here, I just started thinking, you're standing there about to get on a plane. Let's say you got your family with you. Backpack on, roller suitcase, and 2 dudes in just, Under Armour shirts with a little badge come up and they're like, "We think you have a warrant for drugs, you're coming with us."
Right.
I know what I need to do is immediately comply, but I'm even at my best. Probably this is going to be a minute long interaction here before I'm just walking away like, sounds good. especially if I'm not a drug dealer.
Yeah.
You know, if I was, then I might be like, hey, I have a lawyer for this. Let's go. And we call my drug dealer lawyer. But if I'm just a guy, I feel like there's going to be some resisting.
Yeah.
At least verbally.
You paid for early boarding?
Oh, I know. You're like, hey, group 2?
I gotta go.
Fuck this up for me? So, yeah, I don't know. Like, when we did the story, it was like, how's this guy demanding an apology? And I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I would get to a point of needing to be tased, but I've never been in that situation before. What would you do?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, I apologize. That must not have been a very interesting question.
No.
No, I just...
What? I just don't know.
Yeah, no, I feel like I would, in my old days, would have been tased. Probably because I would have been lit at the airport.
I mean,
but even just my normal disposition would
instinct
be like, get away
is
from
to
me.
not get tased.
Right.
Above all.
It's also not to be told what to do.
Right. But I think told what to do wins out over
Yeah.
getting tased.
Yeah.
You know, if you can start to smell it's going in this direction or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, with any interaction, my instinct is usually, how do I get out of this interaction as quick as I possibly can? Which goes with talking to the wife or just whatever's happening. I don't want it to keep going on. Scheduled sex.
Right.
All right. I'm thinking of everything good.
This was a comment on our Patreon from Alex. We were talking about that dude who hit 4 million miles the other day.
Is that why we can't remember like baseball stats anymore? We're just not thinking about them anymore.
Right. As a kid, you're younger. You're thinking of baseball and
To be honest with you,
dead people in front of you or something. Like just something to make you not as fired up.
when's the last time you tried to hit from farm to table organic beet? Just no image at all.
Oh, Jesus, dude.
You won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
It's not happening. Everyone listening, go home tonight.
What if you did like an Aaron Rodgers?
Put that stopwatch on.
I've done it recently.
Okay.
Because 5 a.m. workout, investment, stocks, portfolios guys said to do it, and so I tried it.
Yeah?
And for about 30 minutes, I had superpowers.
So after you dunk your face in ice and squeeze
8x
lemon
return.
on yourself and take your creatine, you just you just hit a straight up grass-fed
Yeah.
organic beet.
Feel great.
That it would take me half an hour.
Yeah.
I might need a thumb.
I've got one from Cam. who
Hold on,
Man?
let me finish this story real quick.
Okay.
I'd started the Patreon one before you brought
Yeah,
up
sorry.
baseball. The guy who did 4 million miles, the CDL guy. This guy said that he had a good friend who was a CDL, and they would put a star on your cab for certain million-mile markers, like 3 million. And for his friend, when he hit 3, they named a star after him.
Oh, okay.
Name.
That's like the worst thing you could ever get.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is the worst, right? Like, do we need to do? I'm sure someone's done it, but do we need a Dumb Zone investigates or something on the star registry? Like, just tell me the.
Like they're not still doing it now, are they?
It
Feels like that was a thing you would see on TV a lot.
Feels like an easy grift.
The guy,
Right, and it's an easy gift. Oh, look, I gave this.
the guy
named
who
the star.
left this comment on
I didn't buy the
Patreon,
star. I named it after you.
The guy on Patreon said that you can actually do this and become a lord of a plot of land in Scotland. And it got me to thinking. I've probably had 5 listeners now ask me for the address of Dan's Hot Springs property. And out of somewhat awkwardness and laziness,
I'll give it to him.
I haven't asked Dan, but it just made me think, like, why wouldn't they just ask Dan? So I was like, is there some weird reason? But we need to sell that plot inch by inch
Okay.
or square foot by square foot, and we'll go grid it out, and you can have your own square foot, and you can be a duke of McDowell Land in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Will they have to contribute to because it's like a monthly?
Yeah, you'll get
$40 a month just to have a
you'll
piece
get
of
dinged
land.
4 or 5 pennies to be a part of our,
I was paying
our
the
feudal system.
property assessment last week. I'm talking to the guy on the phone like, this seems weird. I just got to pay for this year after year.
That seems like
for
a
nothing.
giant.
The guy goes, yeah. Does seem weird, doesn't it? What's your credit card number?
You'll hear later about a company that can help you take care of that, folks.
Yeah, no doubt. Cam sent something in for Jake. It's a funny movie recommendation. It's called Blackballed, the Bobby Duke story, and it's a mockumentary-style paintball movie.
Oh, my God. That sounds amazing.
Basically, the whole cast of Children's Hospital, I think the whole show will enjoy, from Cam, who blessed our Venmo.
This is crazy.
Well, you've sold me on it with the cast of Children's Hospital.
Rob Corddry. That guy's name, is it Paul Scheer? Is that how you say his name? The Gap Tooth guy? Yeah, this is interesting. Okay. Consider it BM'd. Anna Kay weighs in regarding me killing a cow, and it's the answer you think it is. She says, no way. You can't kill a cow with your bare hands. Sorry, bud. No matter what you do to subdue it, it'll just piss it the F off.
Well, she's the expert on how to kill animals.
She is the expert on how to kill animals. But I've thought about this one a lot more. I wonder what... Oh, we already did it with ChatGPT, and it was like, nah, it's bad. But you see, Blake, that's immediately where my brain went.
I know,
it's bad to kill.
It's a problem.
Yeah, like when I was like... I think I just asked it, hey, what's the quickest way for me to kill this cow with my bare hands? It was like, ooh.
You shouldn't do that.
That's funny about that. It won't even answer that. I was talking to our guy from Fitness Pact the other day. He created that app. And, like, we got a spot for him next week. We're not doing a spot now, but the point is, like, he asked me for feedback on the app, and I said, I think you should be able to get a taste on it, because you had to pay, like, $2.99 for 1 month to even try the app. And I said, without knowing what it is, it's hard to do that. Like, even for me, you know, we're promoting the app, and I'm like, it's hard to convince someone to just spend money on it. Just, you need a free taste. You need a little, and so they're going to create a promo code, and I said, well, make it DumbZone. And he goes, okay. Well, then he texted me back or emailed us later, and he's like, yeah, you can't make dumb. The word dumb can't be in your promo code, like on Google Play or something, whatever he's setting it up through. I was like, really? So we're deciding, is it going to be DZ something or whatever? But the point is, that's dumb.
It is dumb.
Right? What about like Clit Commander?
That should be the promo code. Clit.
I got one here from Melvin, just keeping us honest. Melvin says, we were talking about the story recently of how did John Wiley Price come up?
Our man downtown?
Our man downtown.
I don't remember.
Somebody in jail.
Yeah. And he said, John Wiley Price has not been to jail for anything like Dwayne Caraway or like some of those other former Dallas council members. As far as I can remember, he's only been charged and on trial, but has never been convicted. He said, it's not that big of a deal, but in this polarized world, I don't want people thinking all black politicians have been to jail or convicted. Peace out, Melvin.
All right. So if we have to read all our corrections then to the show, then I just do want to say that John Daly never won the Masters.
Oh, shoot. I forgot about that one. But it did remind me, though,
I've gotten that.
A popular reason why these two get conflated, not just that they're both black and in Dallas. Do you remember when they got in that actual fight at that gospel radio station?
Yes.
It was 10 years ago next year. Just a magical moment. Like if that had showed up.
Do we have that audio?
The Wire.
We might.
I don't know. I remember the audio being pretty crazy. Let's see if this will play.
This is on a radio show?
They're in the studio. Really beeped, you know.
Are they beeping out the...
Yeah, and they were fighting this because this is from like the news is report out. They were fighting over, I think, a woman. It's just awesome.
A tale as old as time.
To Melvin, I say I just consider them all dirty and crooked.
All black people?
From the wonderful world of sports, Radio Sports Scoreboard.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Brought to us by, you know what? Let's go with Underdog Fantasy because that's sports.
Ooh, let's check out our lineups for today.
What do we got there?
Let's
Oh,
see
man, because of
here.
Luka, I'm out.
Yeah, that didn't cash for you.
Yeah, I had some Luka against Anthony Edwards things. Anyway, Underdog Fantasy, it's kind of like a thing where you pick two players and you match up their stats on an evening, and it's kind of like a parlay thing, right?
Yeah,
So
you can add extra picks. You can make it 3 versus 3. You can add a little
The
juice
more
to it
you
there.
pick, the more you can profit on that.
That's right. Download the app. Super, super easy to use. And sign up now using the promo code DUMBZONE. That'll unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So that's a great thing about something like Underdog Fantasy. You know, you bet on Luka against Anthony Edwards last night. He's out. Oh, well, just re-rack. There's tons and tons of options on there. You know, Jock Peterson's going to get hot at some point. Don't you want to be the one who has a windfall when that happens?
Yes. Yes.
Well, go hit up that Underdog Fantasy app. Sign up now. Use the promo code DUMBZONE to get that special offer. I'm going to read it, okay?
Yeah.
You must be 18. No, you must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.npcgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or next step to 2-53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8 Hope NY or text Hope NY. Maybe we could record that going forward.
I thought you you nailed it, bro. Just use that one again.
Yep.
Like, cut that one off.
Okay.
Anyway, I want to do Belichick and stuff, but I don't know if you're fired up about Luka. Luka's out. My opinion on Luka overall is, look, the second the trade was made, the second they were doing the deal, while Rob Pelinka is trying to keep a straight face and looking for the punked cameras. This is an Anthony Davis prank show, isn't it? What am I
He's
doing
so
here?
wacky.
There's absolutely no way there's a guy offering me Luka for Anthony Davis if Anthony Davis isn't behind it as a prank. Like,
Now tell him we don't have to send pics.
yeah. Anyway. As he was making that trade, he's like, this is a trade for the next 10 years of this franchise.
Yeah.
This is a trade to keep us relevant. I have a real NBA superstar, one of the top handful of players in NBA, maybe one of the top 10 in the history of this whole league right now. So certainly the roster isn't built for this, but one of the easier jobs in sports is to be a GM of a team with a superstar that you can build around. And Rob Pelinka now gets to be that guy. Nico Harrison is no longer that guy. It's not going to be that easy to build a team around an aging Anthony Davis, especially one that you already had crafted around one type of a player. So that's what I think. They did lose. The only reason anybody was even trying to squint and say the Lakers could be a dark horse candidate is because of the incredible basketball IQ of Luka and LeBron, and put them together and like they can figure things out. But in the end, I think the lack of talent was just too much.
Lack of talent, lack of fit, lack of cohesion. I'm pretty unbothered by this stuff.
Probably the up and down of the whole the emotion of the whole
Sure.
year too, everything.
I know that there are people who've made it their weird thing to align with Nico and just be like, F Luka. I'm tired of watching that guy. This is what we were saying all along. And that whatever. The weird thing to me is a lot of the people that are saying that towards the Mavs season, wrapping up, it was nothing but, man, if they just had more time. Man, if they had Kyrie. Like, this could work. The people who are still riding with the Mavs and like, maybe the trade made sense. You get defense, AD, like this. If you just had some time and you had Kyrie healthy, which is true, But they don't do that for the Lakers. That team is not supposed to be playing together. That team is a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say this like snarkily, but as cool as J.J. Redick is, he got his ass handed to him. And it's kind of a Jason Garrett thing where I don't really know who's to blame, the person who bought the ingredients or the person who cooked the meal. But I don't know that, John Wooden could have coached that team. They don't have a roster. They have like 4 or 5 guys. I mean, I swear to God, dude, when I started watching Jackson Hayes back in February on a 2 or 3 night a week basis, I thought to myself, Dwight Powell should be in the goddamn Hall of Fame. And you know what? While we're at it, put Brandon Wright in there from 2012, 2013, because those guys made dunking a basketball look easy and just standing near the rim. So they end up playing Dorian a zillion minutes at 5. And now, instead of the guy who's there when Luka gets blown by time and time again being P.J. Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., Reggie Bullock, prime Dorian, now it's 40-year-old LeBron and Austin Reeves. Nobody ever said he was a perfect player, He's got to have a roster built around him in the same way that just about everybody this side of maybe Giannis, and even Giannis needed Drew Holiday after already having Chris Middleton.
Michael Jordan needed a roster around him, dude.
The unique thing about Luka is that I think he's going to be, when it's all said and done, considered the best basketball player with the worst defense of all time. However high you want to put him, like 7, 8 all time, he'll be the worst. It'll just be because everybody above him, maybe even like Steph Curry, was passable defensively at some, was more than passable. So he's a little unique in that regard. That you kind of got to do a little work around the edges.
I mean, Dirk
is a great example. That's why Dirk is where he is.
You had to build that roster around him.
Yes, you had
because he had serious defensive problems.
So yeah, that's what's weird about it is that those same people that are like, look at Luka, can't defend, scrub.
Yeah,
those people spent 20 years of their life being like, dude, Dirk is awesome. They just don't have the right type of guy for his awesome.
And even Dirk knows Luka's better than Dirk.
Yeah. Signed and shipped. So, yeah, but Redick, man, I listened to his press conference afterward.
Look, I think he's a first-year head coach.
Yeah.
And just like first-year players, or once they're in the playoffs, coaching in the playoffs is also different. Got to shorten the bench. Got to, it's a chess match back and forth, he's going to learn that. He's probably going to continue to make mistakes next year and the year after in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's a gift and curse, right? I mean, on one hand, it's way better than taking over, like, the Hawks.
Yeah.
But on the other, it's not easy to just roll in and deal with LeBron. Not deal with, but, like, manage. And you're in LA, and now the pressure is even – I think it was high before.
Sure.
KJ was in our group chat this morning, like, we on Spo watch?
After they got –
No, but after but like for how do the Lakers
steal Spo?
Why not?
They could. They're probably in it with Redick for a while.
I think they are too.
Rid of him.
He also got destroyed. If Rudy Gobert gets 27 and 24 against your team and is able to stay on the floor in the fourth quarter, you got outcoached.
Mm-hmm.
You figure it out.
I want to do Today in Belichick.
Yeah. Today in Jordan.
Because, yes, all this came out like yesterday. I'm like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe we're not doing a show. A New York Post article hit because, yes, all this came out.
Live stream. Sorry.
What are you doing? You're watching our stream?
Watching you on here. I was trying to.
How am I looking?
I was trying to retweet.
I was thinking of going hat off because I went and got a head shave yesterday.
Ooh.
Yeah,
and I wanted to give our audience head.
Okay.
And the thing they burned off my head.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't quite there.
Nice, dude.
That? It's still kind of like there.
You're looking great.
And then I got this other one over here that's still falling off. But yeah, old man spot. Want me to go head off for this?
Yeah, so the emails come out.
The New York Post article. How Jordan Hudson, 24, amassed $8 million real estate portfolio within months of meeting Bill Belichick.
Okay.
I love how they write this article. Bill Belichick's spry girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, has amassed this portfolio worth about $8 million, all within months of the fisherman's daughter meeting the 73-year-old expatriates coach. So I love spry, fisherman's daughter. So you're kind of painting her to be this, like a little pauper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably wore like some kind of a sack to they fashioned that into a dress for her for school.
An urchin.
Yeah. Hudson, 24, bought 3 multifamily homes across the Boston area in December 2023 for about $7.5 million, inking millions of dollars in mortgage agreements within days. Documents reviewed by Realtor.com show. That sounds a fish. Those hefty purchases, I love just the adjectives they use. That's a hefty purchase. Came about 18 months after the former cheerleader and beauty pageant contestant began dating the 6-time Super Bowl winning coach. Let's see. Oh, Hudson, raised in Hancock, Maine, to parents who ran a fishing business that went bankrupt after their fishing grounds were closed in 2000. Her mother eventually moved to Provincetown on Cape Cod, where she manages a sex toy shop.
All right.
And museum.
Okay.
So is it a sex-based museum, or is it like
Let's find out.
Are we just looking at the great works of Van Gogh over here? But over here, you can have a blow-up doll. In fact, we have a Van Gogh blow-up doll with the Scream. Is it Van Gogh who did the Scream? Someone did the Scream. Do you even know what the Scream is?
Yeah.
The Wilhelm scream? Oh, no, the painting, yeah.
Yeah.
Do it
Anyway,
again.
that's a
Yeah, do it again.
that's a blow-up doll that you can get that, and you can.
I think it's a really good joke. I'm just trying to find this
Thank you.
this store.
So she is teaching Bill a thing or two.
Oh.
Seems like.
The football star and the cheerleader are said to have met on a flight from Boston to Florida, but the pair have never publicly confirmed the stories, and the subject appears to be a sore spot for them based on their abrupt response to a question about their. This is for you.
We're not talking about this.
Based on her abrupt response to a question about their meet cute.
Julie told us about that.
From CBS host Tony DeCouple.
She did.
DeCouple, during the CBS interview, described Hudson as a constant presence during our interview. And then there's more in this article about how they had revealed that Belichick had requested Hudson be CC'd on all emails with University of North Carolina for external affairs and strategic communications. And then it ends with, Belichick broke up with his longtime girlfriend in September 2023. Linda Holliday was 60 at the time. So he got considerably younger. That's not all. Well, that's all from that story.
Yeah.
Because CBS and the University of North Carolina are now going back and forth. Because the University of North Carolina released a Belichick statement where he's complaining about the fact that he said he agreed to speak to promote my new book. We were clear that I would focus solely on the contents of the book. Unfortunately, the expectation was not honored during the interview. I was surprised when unrelated topics were introduced. Repeatedly expressed this to the reporter and the producers that I preferred to keep the conversation centered on the book. After this occurred several times, Jordan, with whom I share both a personal and professional relationship, stepped in to reiterate that point to help refocus the discussion. She was not directing any specific question or topic, but simply doing her job, as he would say. To ensure the interview stayed on track, some of the clips may make it appear as though we were avoiding the question of how we met. But we have been open about the fact that Jordan and I met on a flight to Palm Beach in 2021. The final 8-minute segment does not reflect the productive 35-minute conversation we had, which covered a wide range of stuff.
2021?
Yeah, that's what he says.
when they met.
which would make her
Yeah.
20 years old, right?
Yeah. It was. I thought she was 21 maybe, but when they I would have said 22. It's been a while, man. She's been lurking.
Yeah. So there was some overlap between the 60 and the now 24.
She was lurking, but in previous situations, there was nothing really for her to take over. There was no power vacuum, and now she's got a Nico spot where you just have to. I'm not saying you got to be a rocket scientist to be in public relations, but there is a way to do it, and there is a understanding of psychology, and those people know what they're doing. This lady's a dumbass. I mean, she just has like an extremely dynamite pussy, obviously, as Danny's grandpa or whatever would say. And she doesn't know. She uses the word upmost.
Then there's another article yesterday that dropped from The Athletic yesterday.
That one,
But-
I didn't feel like I learned anything new.
No. I was going to say a lot of that is stuff you've already talked about, but it was about how Jordan. They did more investigative reporting and were pretty much just confirming, yes, it's because of her that the NFL decided we're not going to do this Hard Knocks thing because she's too much.
You know what I thought the most interesting part of that story was that the NFL was talking to North Carolina because they're having a hard time, or were having a hard time, I'm not sure now, finding an NFL team. And they were just going to run that instead.
Yeah.
That's what they meant. That's what it made it sound like.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's like
Maybe
that
it's
every
kind of like
year.
we finally have a chance to get Belichick. We've wanted him for 20 years.
That's a good point, too, because he would definitely always be in a position to say no.
Yeah.
But she sounds awful. That email that she put out is really weird. You didn't read any of that, did you?
That was from Belichick, right?
Yeah. Do you have that? No, I didn't read any of that, did I?
It's basically it's an email that she wrote, or that she shared, that he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really strange. But it's complaining about media coverage, which I guess is related to an article, but we don't know what article. It was sent shortly after a Boston Globe article about his book, but the article's not negative. It's largely just focused on how great he is. It's a really weird thing, man. Like, if you read the email, he's also like he's just pissed off about how everyone's talking about how I effed up. Because I guess he gave that quote in the book of about one specific decision in the
Oh, yeah.
And he's mad about that. Like, oh, of course that's what the media is doing, and you guys are just letting them. And all this, he has like, it's a weird Trumpy sounding thing where he's like, yeah, I guess that's their agenda, rather than talking about, and I thought this was really weird, rather than talking about how when I took over the Patriots, they were worth whatever, and now they're worth whatever.
Right.
And then he said, and I won 6 Super Bowls. It's like talking like a business guy.
And then Jordan tweeted that out, his girlfriend, with a musical note, and then it says, Taylor Swift, look what you made me do. So it's like, I didn't want to show this to everybody, but I'm going to.
You see what else there is?
Huh.
Like a little still shot of an interview. Like, appears to be like she's got some footage to release.
Ooh.
You know, but whatever, dude. Like, she did.
Yeah, whatever. But I'll read it and I'll watch it. So
I'll read it, but what I heard about what's interesting is that I've read a couple reviews of the book, and people are like, this is a boring book. Like, if you thought there was going to be explosive stuff, it's not that.
yeah.
It's a business book by Belichick on how to be a great leader, which I think would be very interested in. But there's nothing in there where he's like, yeah, I walked in while Robert Kraft was getting jacked off, and it's not that.
Brady sucks.
Yeah.
The news today will be brought to us by One Day Doors and Closets. Got a email last week from DF number 190. He says, I had One Day Doors come out thanks to the Dumb Zone, telling us about them in between sports and mostly comedy segments of my favorite podcast. Anyway, Soup's positive review. I've been led to believe it would take 1 day to install 7 doors in my house. It was actually only a couple of hours or so.
Wow.
Which was 22 hours less than expected. They are great. That is from Ryan. He's our subscriber number 190.
How long does it take to take them down?
The 1 day doors? No, you get to keep them, man.
Oh.
And they're solid doors. They're not hollow. Keeps the noise out, keeps the noise in, whatever you want. They can replace every interior door in your house in just one day. And they have a special buy one door, you get two.
That's incredible, and I appreciate you wording it that way. OneDayTexas.com/promo30. OneDayTexas.com/promo30. The phone number is 9406. Or excuse me, you don't need the phone number. I don't even know why I did that. F it. OneDayTexas.com/promo30. Why? Who's going to use that? Like, who is this
Who's gonna,
potential
call?
consumer? Yeah, just use.
I don't know. Sometimes I like to just call and connect.
Like, I already gave you a website and a promo code. Why would you call?
I just like to talk to people. Maybe I'll hit it off with them. Maybe
And
we'll
then when I
become good
messed that
friends.
up, I wasn't even able to play my stinger.
OneDayTexas.com/promo30. Get you a free door when you buy door. One Day Doors.
I want to get a stinger with this phone number in it. Combat you.
Well, I think I have another one.
That one just
In
had
closets.
Oh, it's just the end closets?
Oh, okay.
Man in Denton is facing 4 arson charges. These are fires that were set in December and January. December 24, January 25, up in the Denton area. What we appear to have here is something that was right there with quicksand and the like when I was a kid. People to be worried about, things to be worried about. We got a pyro.
Hmm.
Had that term entered the discourse when you were a little kid?
Oh, my gosh.
You're like, oh, dude, he's a pyro.
Yeah. I was concerned about myself at times.
Yeah, I could see
Am
that.
I a pyro?
Yeah, you give pyro.
Yeah.
So, there are 4 different fires, I believe, that were set by this one guy. The first one was middle of the night, December 17th, at a restaurant. Building had significant damage, no one injured. The next day, at night, it just listed as a structure, but he lit like an apartment. I think it was like an apartment complex on fire, and 2 older people, 103 and 83 years old, died in that fire.
103.
Yeah, 103-year-old and an 83-year-old in like an apartment complex or a senior living place. That's fire 2. Fire 3 at a daycare 3 weeks later in January. And the footage of that one, you can see him breaking a glass window with a stone that he picks up. Then he sprays some liquid through a window, and he just flicks a lighter, and the building just goes. No one injured in that one. So, yeah, a restaurant, a daycare, what I think is a senior living facility, which got him
How'd they catch him?
video, just video.
Yeah.
Similar manner starting the fires. And then I assume just, I think that'd be a fun part of being a detective. Just
What's
kind of
that?
piecing together, like, okay, we've got this person at this building on this video. Let's get all the traffic cameras. Let's get just participating in the surveillance state, I think would be very fun.
Then the first time you meet him, you just kind of like judging how he acts.
Yeah.
Once you mention,
Yeah.
we're investigating these fires.
Yeah. You guys caught up on Gemstones by any chance?
No,
It's good.
I'm a couple
I'm
behind.
still very in on it.
Yeah.
They gave BJ a monkey. If you haven't.
Oh, I'm into that.
Okay.
I'm on the episode where the wife is jealous of the monkey.
Yeah.
That's the next one after they give him it at first.
Oh, it's so good. Speaking of Denton County, on the board, first case of measles.
That's good.
Bringing into 2025, like what?
This feels like slow COVID.
It does.
Remember that? It was
Yeah.
there's one in Seattle, then the first one in Texas, and then all of a sudden everybody gets it. And you brought it over.
So on April 20th and April 19th and 20th, they were visiting from West Texas. On April 19th, They started the day at Pretty Burrito in Flower Mound, which I'm not aware of, but sounds delightful.
Yeah.
This might have been a 2 for breakfast type morning. Dan will go to 2 places for you. Also at Donut Plaza from 10 to noon that Saturday. And then it was time for some baseball as they attended the Rangers-Dodgers game after being at Rangers Republic at Texas Live for 3 hours in the lead up.
What a day.
Yeah, after the day game.
It's like Ferris Bueller, yeah.
They ended up at Guitars and Growlers back in Flower Mound. Hope they took an elite ride.
How about a nice break? Let's get a nap.
And then sometime between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. that Friday, hit Walmart for a case, I'm certain of it.
Jesus.
Maybe a couple White Owls.
That's a baller day, man.
Split up those swishies.
Yeah, maybe some ice cream.
Yeah, maybe a couple Tombstones.
So how do you get measles?
Don't get vaccinated and get exposed to it. But here's the funny part.
I just mean airborne. What you got to touch a person?
I think it's
Like, can if I'm sitting next to a guy with measles, can I get measles? I mean,
yeah, they're airborne. It's not just touch. Yeah. So, okay, so let's recap that. Saturday morning, you're at Pretty Burrito, Donut Plaza, Rangers Texas Live, Rangers game, Guitars and Growlers. You hit the Walmart in Louisville on the way back to the crib. The next morning, we were at Flower Mound United Methodist Church between 11 a.m. and 2.
You got to atone.
And then, like everyone, you go to the grocery store afterward, Winco Food. It's just very funny to see a full breakdown. It's like this person's a sim. And I clicked on him. I'm like, what have you been up to? But I don't like how precise it like them putting this information out there for the public. What are you supposed to do?
like if you were at that game?
Yeah, if you were at Pretty Burrito that morning.
It's not even this last Saturday.
Let's say you were there and you have not been vaccinated for measles.
And you don't have measles yet from then.
What's your play?
Well, it says you basically got to look out for the measies until May 13th. So if you were at one of these places, look out.
Just be worried.
Yeah. Dude, I would laugh so hard if somehow one of y'all got measles.
That's not very nice. I would be very concerned for your safety.
It would be good for the show, I think.
You know, that's bigger than the show.
You know what's funny? This person's probably like 55, and I was tired by the second item on this list.
I was going to say.
Busy day, my man.
Like, if you're going to a baseball game, like, that's all I'm doing. Everything else is kind of gearing up, getting ready for that.
Yeah.
That's why I just don't have time to go to baseball games. I'm just busy doing all the other stuff.
Man in San Antonio jumped off of a bridge, then tried to carjack a good Samaritan before dying. This man's 37 years
the
old.
Samaritan was good?
It is always just kind of an assumption, isn't it?
Like, what if he was carjacking some asshole? Would you be like, okay, that's
right? Like Craig Sager.
That shapes the a deadbeat dad who hasn't paid back child support in 10 months,
or a guy not turning right on red.
Yeah, somebody who's in the left lane.
Yeah,
like, what if they
true
also
demon.
reported that? Then he ended up hijacking him, and
good.
Yeah. So this is a crazy story. There was a dude in Minnesota. He was convicted of kidnapping and sexually assaulting his girlfriend in Minnesota. He was on the run after not attending trial last week. He's accused of these crimes back in 2023. He held his girlfriend for over 24 hours. And so then this guy was set to be on trial last week in Minnesota. He shows up in San Antonio, and he jumps off of a bridge in San Antonio. Don't know if he's trying to kill himself or what, but then he tried to carjack a driver that stopped to help him after jumping off the bridge. He lived. And then the cops show up. They arrested him, detained him, and he died at the hospital.
Ooh. What kind of bridge? Are we talking jumping into the
You know,
Riverwalk?
there's a couple photos.
That's not that far of a fall.
No.
To me, this looks like jumping off of how would I say?
Not like where 820 and 35W is it?
No, but I'm gonna hold up my computer because I know that's super.
Or 121 and 820.
What if we tried this?
Okay, it's just like an overpass.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it would kill you.
Yeah, 635 and 75.
Probably break a couple legs, you'd think.
Yeah.
Depending on how you landed, of course, yeah. Little internal injuries is what we're talking about here.
And I'm not like victim blaming necessarily, but if you just jumped off of a bridge, sustained those injuries, and you're able to carjack me, I need to look in the mirror.
Yeah, I'm not helping that guy.
Well, I guess I'm just saying if a guy can jump off a bridge, sustain the damage that Dan was just describing, and then get you out of your car, you might be a weakling.
Well, it says they stopped to help. So maybe the door was open.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you just saw a madman scale off of a bridge, you're not stopping my car to help him.
It's a good point. Yeah.
You're not stopping your car to help a lot of people, though.
Yeah, I know.
Someone else will stop.
Look, I'm not trained. You don't want
Right.
You don't want me helping.
No, that'd be
I would just
dangerous.
get in the way. So let me just speed on by.
And let's see here. Our final story. A Fort Worth police officer is just now being reported was fired earlier this year after DEA agents found drugs at his house. Employment was terminated. And I guess after they found the cocaine, they took him to a medical center where he was ordered to provide a sample. And he was, still an active police officer at that time, and he was had cocaine in his system.
And that's only a couple days, right?
Yeah. That's the old military move.
From what I know about cocaine, you might want a little in your system sometimes, right?
Yeah,
You're a cop.
There's a very funny in the most recent Gemstones when Baby Billy's trying to do teen gist and he can only get through it with coke.
Okay.
And then just like a scene at the end. It's a very kitschy 80s action movie scene where he just needs one more run at the bad guy and he's just like, ah.
Yeah.
But we were talking earlier about the surveillance part of being a detective. Like, if there were no rules and it just everything was up to me, I would have no family, and I would be able to do speed and solve crimes every day. Like, that's all I would do. Whether it's the surveillance cameras, whether it's, casing out places. Like, I'm really good at that, at like locking in on something and being like, I can do this for 2 days if I have a little assistance.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want anyone bitching at me that I'm not home.
No, like,
I mean, you're allowed to have vitamins.
I know, but I think if
Why not have a little
a little
heart vitamin?
Yeah, a little performance enhancer.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Like, being a cop on cocaine sounds amazing. You're super in charge.
Until
you can probably get more of it if you need it, which is rarely the case.
The whole thing is you want to regulate it. You want 0.3 cocaine.
Fuck,
or something,
whatever. Let's take over. No, you're right. Yeah, you would just need to microdose cocaine.
Yeah.
Make sure your boys don't get too hyped on it. You guys are just a machine out there. You got to let me do things my way.
It's not by the book.
No. Anyways, there's your news.
Okay.
The Dumb Zone News. Like and subscribe. The Dumb Zone presents.
This will be brought to us by Frankel & Frankel. They're the personal injury attorneys. If Jake gets all coked up and you get in an accident with him and you get injured, well, then call Frankel & Frankel because then they'll sue Jake.
I don't want to go to the cleaners, but that's probably where I deserve to be taken for something like that. And the Frankels can make sure of that. They'll get you what you deserve. That's what it's about. Insurance companies, they're trying to jam you up. They don't want to pay. The Frankels, make them pay. 214-817 and hit all those threes. 214-817-333-3333.
Let's see. We got a couple of birthdays from listeners, viewer mail birthdays. Dan, Jake, and Blake, I want to wish my firstborn and favorite son, Rylan Wilson, happy 17th birthday. We'd like Jake to rate his name.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
Rylan. You're all my leaders. Hopefully get to meet up if you take another road trip to training camp from Jeff Todd in Amarillo.
Oh, yeah, good dude. So I know a Rylan. You know a Rylan. His is spelt in a way that makes me feel like it's country. Like it looks like Waylon.
Amarillo, bro.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but for some
country.
reason, it is, and that's what's weird. Rilen feels dragony.
I think a 17-year-old named Rylan is going to be nice to you or polite.
No.
What do you want?
I don't really think any of them are, but he sounds way cooler than me.
Let's see. Hey, Dan, my name is Will. I want to give a birthday shout-out to Dufu Paul. I'm guessing he woke himself up in that special way. Elsewhere, today is Thursday, May 1st. We have Eric Nadel to get to here in a few minutes. But on this day in 1707, the Kingdom of Great Britain was created as a treaty merging England and Scotland took effect. Okay.
We still doing treaties?
Yeah, what was the last one?
We're doing ceasefires, right?
Are treaties back?
On this day in 1952, Mr. Potato Head is introduced. The plastic toy. Do you know what that is, Blake?
Mr. Potato Head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows because of Toy Story.
Yeah, because I didn't have one.
Well, I was just thinking about, like, today's kid versus this era. I guess my mom might have been around, right? I mean, there was Mr. Potato Head when I was a little kid. I never feel like I was stoked on it. But the point is, all right, we got nothing that stimulates these kids. What could we do? I got an idea. We're in the boardroom. Stay with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a potato. Well, won't that rot? Hold on.
It's kind of boring, isn't it?
It's made of plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, you can, like, put a thing on it, and it'll be like it has a mouth and then eyes, and they'll play with it for hours. And it was, like, really popular. They sold them billions of them. Like, somehow, they're like, yeah, potato, head, good, awesome.
It makes no sense.
Winner idea.
There's nothing about it that makes any sense.
On this day in 1991, oh, what a day this was. What a night this was. When Nolan threw his 7th no-hitter at age 44. Struck out 16, only walked 2. 44 years old. He later said this was the best game he had ever played. Same night is the night that Ricky Henderson passed Lou Brock, becoming baseball's all-time stolen base leader with his 939th career steal. And I remember old white sportscasters loved this because they hated Ricky Henderson because he was very cocky, and he would say things like, Ricky told you that Ricky would steal that base. And then you have Nolan Ryan, who just wants to brand another cow and go,
Love his wife.
maybe even kill that cow with his bare hand. Yeah, and then love his wife. Anyway, the fact that this overshadowed Ricky, I think, was joyful to many olds.
Good for them. That's awesome for them.
On this day in 1996, the Mavs were sold to a group of investors led by Ross Perot Jr. for $125 million from Donald Carter, who had paid $12 million. Franchise values keep going up. What's the deal with that? And speaking of cocaine, on this day in 2014, Toronto Mayor Rob Ford goes to rehab.
Yes. Yes.
He went to rehab on this day.
I think if you really wanted to do it, you could probably find one of those every month. I don't think he was a one-timer.
Oh, him. I thought you just meant celebrity going to rehab.
Oh, no, him.
Birthdays today include...
Bro, you know what's crazy? His brother is still, I believe, one of the 5 or 6 or whatever biggest politicians. His brother had done the same stuff as him.
Name value. You just
Doug Ford, yeah.
Name recognition, and that's good for you.
I believe we talked to someone recently who might be enjoying a little bit of that.
What, Steve Hitler?
No, it wasn't Steve Hitler. Kevin Farley.
Oh, Kevin Farley.
Look, the Kevin Farley thing is fresh, folks.
I would have had him on even if your brother wasn't Chris Farley. I thought that's how good you were. Wes Welker, 44.
It's going to be, I would say, at least an OC one day.
Chet Holmgren, 23. Weird-looking individual. Miles Sanders is 28.
That's a hard 28, buddy.
Isn't he a cowboy?
He is now a Dallas Cowboy.
I forgot about that.
I did, too, before this morning because I'm like, where'd he go? I know
Miles
Carolina.
Sanders and Javonte Williams? Or was there another?
Yeah, it's an awesome backfield.
Curtis Martin is 52.
Damn.
Marcus Stroman is 34.
And he fell off.
Jake, Ray Parker Jr. is 71.
I don't know.
Wes Anderson is 56.
What do we think, folks?
I don't know.
I really, really like 2 or 3 of his movies, which is strange because it seems like if you like them, you like them all.
I love going to a Wes Anderson movie with Donovan.
That's fantastic.
I'd love just go to a Wes Anderson movie with Donovan and then say, explain that movie to me when you get out. Like, I've never seen him more upset in my life.
Yeah.
Which one?
Moonrise Kingdom, I'm pretty sure, or whatever it was
that he
called.
had to sit through the whole thing.
A weird one.
Like, I think he was happier at the McCartney concert. And he said, I recognized 2 songs. And one was because, like, Earth, Wind, and Fire did this cover. Julie Benz is 53, Blake.
That would be Dexter's wife, who was murdered by the Trinity Killer.
Lizzie Green is 22. I don't know who she is, but it says Nickelodeon star from Dallas. So she makes my list.
Interesting. Don't know. She looks a little young.
And our birthdays of the day, well, runner-up, Nicholas Braun, 37.
Why do I know that name? Oh, he's the guy who, you tell me.
You would never call him, he's the guy who. You would call him Greg the Egg.
Okay.
Greg from Succession. He's awesome. And this is our birthday of the day, Blake. James Murray, 49.
Practical Jokers?
Murr.
Isn't he in trouble?
Probably. They're all in trouble. Born on this day, now dead, Calamity Jane. Chuck Bednarik, and it says here, Kempspin, Kate Smith. She sang like something, Stars America something.
Which one is she? Is she the heavy? No, that's.
I don't know, man.
Who's Kate Smith? Blake?
I don't know. It says Kempspin.
She was canceled.
Was she hammered?
She had a racist song. Which one was it?
Oh, yeah. We found out about this because of the Yankees. Yeah, so her rendition of God Bless America was played during the 7th inning stretch of the Yankees home games from 2001 until 2019, when the practice was discontinued amid controversy surrounding her 1931 recordings of That's Why Darkies Were Born.
I guess I wonder if Kate Smith might be back soon.
Here's the verse. Someone had to pick the cotton, someone had to plant the corn, someone had to slave and be able to sing, and that's why darkies were born. It is kind of nice, though, that they're acknowledging right then, 100 years ago, this music is awesome.
Yeah. Dead on this day, still dead. Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi minister of propaganda, which I always find that's what they called it? Like they said, hey, we're skewing this information to benefit us, and I'm going to call the office that.
Yeah, the MOP.
That's interesting. You're right. I never thought of it that way.
He's the minister, or is that what other people called him? Like, did they within their own system say,
right.
I'm the minister of
know.
propaganda? So, like, immediately you're saying, whatever I'm saying, I'm just
Maybe
saying
also a translation issue. You know what I
Right.
mean? Maybe there's a German word it just means like state information. Not sure. He got cucked by Leni Riefenstahl, though, didn't he?
Maybe. I don't know.
I've learned more about that in the last 6 months or so. She pulled a fast one where later I'll tell you why I was talking to a friend about this, where like in her end of life memoir is like, I mean, I was just making the movies, right? Like I didn't put anybody in an oven.
Right.
You know, I mean, they needed a vision, and I kind of whitewashed it a little bit. I don't know.
That's right. You're right.
It's something.
Now that I think
like
about it, she somehow became the apple of his eye.
Like you got this done.
Also died on this date. We have Stanley Weston. He invented the G.I. Joe action figure.
Okay. Way better than Potato Head.
And also died on this day, John Walker, the inventor of the friction match. So, my question to you guys is,
Oh my God.
what year do you think the friction match was invented? Or like, when was John Walker alive? Like, that's certainly a name that does not indicate
This one
an
doesn't
era.
feel like Galileo hard. It seems like this would have had to have been.
Give me 1750.
I was gonna say 1800.
1830.
You guys are doing great. It was 1826.
Yeah, let me tell
You
you.
guys are all very close.
Well, here's the thing. This game is way easier when there are two names. Anytime you give us one with one name, you're like Monet. I'm like,
right.
BC.
Yeah.
And that was Today in History.
All right. Well, doing
Oh,
things.
whoa.
What?
If I don't see you at the Byron Nelson tomorrow, I'm coming to your house.
Okay. Well, we're not closing the show here. We're just taking a break. We're doing things out of order because we have Eric Nadel coming up. So calm down.
Hey, Claire, did you just get rear-ended by that truck and it wasn't your fault?
I did. Cornelius Falcon, what should I do?
Pick up your phone and start pressing 3s, you ungrateful monster.
Frankel and Frankel.
There are times in life you wish you had a do-over. A chance to warp back in time to change your fate. Back to before you made the wrong choice. If you're in a wreck, make the smart choice right away. Frankel and Frankel. Chosen by the people, feared by the insurance companies. Call Frankel first.
You're listening to The Dumb Zone.
So check out DZTV tonight at 9 on Channel 27. Every night, Monday through Friday. And this Sunday, do you know that we're going to be on Big Fox? Starting this Sunday. So Fox 4 is airing...
Are they going to animate us?
No.
No puppet.
I don't know.
They are starting to they're going to air some of their podcasts, so they're going to air some of the lesser shows they have, like Mike Ducey and Sam Gannon, and then lead it right into ours at 11:30 p.m.
Wow.
Sunday night. That's right, before midnight, my friend.
Yeah, I don't think we made animation domination, Jake. I think that's in the fall.
So tune into us on TV.
Okay.
Isn't that exciting? Also exciting, Frito.
Just a little note.
In our studio right now, the DZTV studios at Fox 4, is the great Eric Nadel.
Hey.
Hello, great Eric Nadel.
How are you?
I don't know. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm about 80% awake. We got back from San Francisco last night. I got home around 12:30, so I'm in good shape, kind of.
Is it possible? I see you have. Is that do any sort of fitness tracking, what you have on your wrist there? Is it sleep track or anything like that?
It's just an Apple Watch basically used to track my AFib and my snoring.
Okay.
My potential sleep apnea.
I've just found that as I've tried to live a more regular, consistent life, it's very important for me just to stay routinized.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's impossible to have a healthy sleep schedule if you work in sports. In any capacity. It's just insane. Because,
Certainly is for me.
Yeah, like if I look at my scores for sleep, if I sleep at different times, they're poor. And that's all that life is just get the sleep when you can. I feel like that has an effect on you over time.
Yeah, and and you're dealing with the time zones too. And it used to be no big deal for me to go back and forth between the Central and the Pacific, the 2-hour time difference. But I found this week, we spent a whole week in California. I never really adjusted to the time difference. I was waking up every day at, between 5 and 6 in the morning and never really got adjusted to it, even if I went to bed at midnight or 1 in the morning. So I'm a little short on sleep, but I've got a few days off this week.
Yeah, so you have when you're a baseball Hall of Famer, that helps you negotiate your contract, right?
Yeah, I do 100 games now. It's great. So it's basically 2/3 of the games, and I get to figure out which games I want to do a month in advance. So I do the schedule a month at a time. So like if a concert gets announced sometime in August or September that wasn't announced in March, I don't have to miss out on it, which I would have to do if I had to make my schedule before the season even started. So the Rangers have just been great about that.
What do you mean? So you live your life around concerts that are coming in town?
To not necessarily coming into town. I go to Red Rocks, I go to the Sphere, I go to festivals, but yeah, largely I do, which is pretty pathetic. But
how's the Sphere?
It's incredible. I've gone twice. I went to see the Dead, and I went to see the Eagles, and I'm going back to see the Eagles again now that Chris Holt is in the Eagles.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's now the lead guitar player in the Eagles.
Wow.
Yeah, the guy retired, had Parkinson's, who had been the longtime lead guitar player, and Chris has played in Don Henley's band, and apparently he taught Henley's kid how to play guitar.
That's right.
And now he is in the Eagles. Okay. So I'm going back. But it's an incredible experience. It's worth the expense. It's worth the hassle. It is unlike any concert experience you've ever had.
Wow.
How many concerts you go to a year?
Well, if you count the small venues, which I do, well over 100, definitely average more than 2 a week.
You would think you've been doing this for, 40, 50, almost 50 years?
This is the 47th year in this job. Before that, I had 6 years doing minor league hockey.
A little break, okay, I'm now doing just 100 games a year. Let's just take a break.
That is his
on
break.
The nights off. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I choose to do on the nights off.
So I was going to bring this up at some point, but did you see Gloria Gaynor?
I saw Gloria Gaynor when she did a walk-on at a Lindsey Sterling concert.
That's why I brought it up. Because this guy loves Lindsey Sterling and will go to a Lindsey Sterling concert by himself.
I went by myself.
Oh, okay.
At Radio City Music
That's
Hall
not an
last
oddity.
year.
Whoa.
And Gloria Gaynor walked on.
Yeah.
How'd you know that, Blake?
I just know the Lindsey Sterling part. I saw her in Grand Prairie. She's one of my favorites.
I saw you
Gloria
earlier
Gaynor
this
there?
year. You were telling Jared Sandler that on one of the pregame shows, I think. But I didn't get excited about anything except that Lindsey Sterling. He loves Lindsey Sterling.
Oh, I do too. She's spectacular.
We used to make fun of him for it, and then we found out a lot of people love her as well.
Oh, it was a fantastic show. I'd go back to see her anytime.
I kind of fell in love with her over the holidays.
Yeah, she does a lot of Christmas stuff.
The holiday jams were.
But how did you get to know her? From like a video game, right?
Yeah,
it's a long story.
Yes.
How did you get to know her?
I think Instagram. I follow a lot of musicians on Instagram, and a lot of musicians are friends of mine. And when they see something incredible, they send it to me. And somebody sent me a clip of her, on a trapeze upside down, playing the most incredible virtuoso violin you've ever heard.
She's very talented.
I thought that was probably worth seeing in person.
Okay.
And it was, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he doesn't just go to concerts, Dan, in his free, quote, downtime. He's also in his 13th year of planning a concert. the annual
look at that
birthday
segue.
benefit.
Yeah.
Smooth.
Thursday, May 29th at the historic Longhorn Ballroom. It says here you don't want to miss it.
No, you don't. It's
I will heed
Shiny
that
Ribs
advice.
and the Secret Sisters. Have any of you seen Shiny Ribs?
I looked them up after this copy was given to me.
They're an incredible show band. Unbelievably charismatic lead guy, Kevin Russell. Backup singers, brass. It's a huge party. They'll be the second band. The first band is the Secret Sisters, an acoustic duo from Alabama who are just hilarious in concert. I've seen them several times. So it's a kind of a co-headline, double bill, and all the proceeds go to the Grant Halliburton Foundation, which provides mental health education programs in area schools. We moved it from the Kessler to the Longhorn this year to accommodate more people. The Longhorn holds about 3 times as many people, so we can have more sponsors, we can have more people. All the information is at longhornballroom.com. The date is May 29th.
So if you've been doing this for 13 years and the benefit is for the cause that you stated, was this the cause of the benefit before you were public about issues that you've faced?
It's always been a mental health charity.
Okay.
When we started out, the beneficiary was Contact Crisis Line, which was a phone line that you could call that later kind of went out of business and merged with the suicide hotline. Then it was benefiting Focus on Teens, which was an organization that unfortunately didn't make it through COVID, that provided support for homeless teens in Dallas schools, many of whom had mental health issues. And then when Focus on Teens went away, we started working with Grant Halliburton Foundation. And this was before 2023 when I missed part of the season, yeah.
Incredible organization. Do a lot of great work.
They've saved a lot of lives.
Hey, this awesome talk with Eric Nadel is brought to us by Ownwell. That is the place that can help you get some money back from big government because they are charging you too much for your property tax. Usually, most counties in Texas should have their assessments done. Now is the time to sign up at ownwell.com/thedumbzone before that general deadline of May 15th. You are busy, so let them do the work and make you money.
I went your route. I tried to fight this on my own a few years ago. Was not successful. I signed up for Ownwell the next year. 3 minutes. If I can sign up for it, so can you. They saved me money that year. And the best part about it is they will save you money going forward. That 3 minutes you spend this year will save you so much time in the future because once you're part of the Ownwell family, you're in for good.
So it automatically did it for you this year?
I got an email that said, hey, we've already submitted your property tax thing. We'll let you know the results. We'll send you the check when we get it. It's easy.
Okay, so you did it last year, so it was like, oh, that took me 3 minutes out of my year. Really, now if it's been done for 2 minutes, that really took you a minute and a half out of that year.
Yeah.
So for each year, exponentially moving forward, in the end, it might have taken you 1 second.
Right. 1 second to save me how much money?
If you live another 180 years, I think that's what's going to happen. But today's technology, anyway, ownwell.com/thedumbzone. Get some of that money back from big government. Now we'll segue out. I don't know. There's no segue out just to talk about Eric Nadel and the fact that I wanted to be you growing up. This was like just the radio announcer.
Sure.
I feel like I know you're doing a lot of TV now.
Well, we're doing the pre and the post game now on TV.
Yeah.
I've always resisted doing the play-by-play on TV.
Okay.
For a myriad of reasons. Always preferred staying on radio.
What are some of the reasons then?
Start with the fact you don't get to do postseason games on TV. You work all year, and then your team makes the playoffs, and every postseason game is a national broadcast. If you're the TV announcer, like Dave Raymond during our World Series run, you go home. You don't get to do them. On TV, you don't get to describe things. You know, you're basically, you know what they say when you learn broadcasting play-by-play, they say on radio, you have to paint the word picture. On TV, you just put captions on the pictures. You're constantly being led by what's on the monitor and what some guy is telling you, talking in your ear, which I don't particularly like. You know, for me, the real challenge, the real joy of doing radio play-by-play is the description. painting that word picture so that, somebody can actually see in their imagination what's going on in the ballpark. And then it was kind of a deal breaker for me that on TV, you had to wear a coat and tie. They've done away with that, fortunately, but that was a deal breaker for me. I'm not wearing a coat and tie to a baseball game, especially at our previous ballpark where it was always 90 degrees in the booth. We had air conditioning, but as soon as we opened the windows, it wasn't air conditioned anymore. And I also thought the whole concept of wearing a jacket and tie to a baseball game for announcers to me was ridiculous. You're trying to sell the idea of fun at the ballpark. This isn't the 1940s where guys are showing up at the ballpark in jackets and ties and hats. Try and identify with your audience. And so now, as we should, we're wearing branded Ranger gear on TV. And that's what we should have been doing all along, and I think that's what everybody should be doing. Now, if it's a special occasion like opening day, we wear jackets and ties, but hopefully that'll be the only time we wear them this year.
That's the painting the picture, though. That's the thing. The description, the exact, that pitch, the evaluation of this umpire early in a game, and then you'll paint that picture as well. That's really what always drew me to it, was lying in bed, listening to baseball play-by-play. My dream was to become a Major League Baseball play-by-play announcer and do that for 40 years.
Yeah, and my dream too was to be a play-by-play announcer, but I grew up in New York City, in Brooklyn to be exact, listening to Marv Albert do the New York Knicks and the New York Rangers on the radio. And that's how I decided for sure that this is what I wanted to do. And people would ask me, and hockey was always my first love, and people would ask me, what are you going to do when you grow up? And I would say, well, I'm going to be like Marv. I'm going to be the voice of the Rangers. I wasn't specific enough.
Yeah. I was going to ask that because mine was Joe Tate and Nev Chandler. That's who I grew up with. Did you know those guys?
I met each of them a couple of times. Nev did some Indians ball back then.
Right.
And Joe one time just happened to be at a game, but I never knew him much.
Okay. But those are my influences.
And baseball, were you listening to Herb Score?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, Joe Tate was on the radio with Herb Score for quite a few years. So was Nev Chandler.
Yeah.
But Herb Score was the old color commentator, the former left-handed pitcher. I guess he could have still been a left-hander, but yeah. Anyway, that's just my radio meant so much to me, and so.
Yeah.
Basically, it was Marv was your main guy?
Well, it started with baseball, with listening to the Yankees, Mel Allen and Red Barber. When I first found out those guys were getting paid, I was about 7 or 8 years old. And I asked my dad how they got off work to go to the game that afternoon. And he said, no, that's their work. My dad was a dentist. I said, so you're going to go back to the office and fill some cavities? And these guys go to Yankee Stadium.
You're like, wait, what?
And
really?
Blah, blah, blah. They get paid. Dad, they have a better job than you. I want to do that. But it wasn't really until I heard Marv that I became totally focused, totally enamored with the prospect of doing that.
So what was your journey? You said minor league hockey. What was your first job and how'd you get to
I got into it basically through college radio. I went to Brown University and I became the voice of the Brown University Bruins hockey team. And I sent out 1 million tapes when I got out to basically every minor league hockey team in the country. And when I graduated, I did not have a job. So I continued doing my college job, which was a janitor.
I read that, yeah. Goodwill Hunting.
What is this, like mid-70s?
So this was 1972.
Okay.
So I'm cleaning toilets and cleaning hair out of shower drains.
Dave Raymond, he lived sort of in a college, something. He had maybe a homeless situation in Stanford where he was like stealing pizza from a trash and living
on people's couches, couch surfing.
So you were cleaning a college.
I was actually getting paid enough to share a house with four other guys. But then I got a phone call from the owner of the Muskegon Mohawks in Muskegon, Michigan, and his announcer had just quit. And he went to the file, and they always say, we'll keep your application on file. And you go, yeah, right. Well, he went to the file and he looked at it. And he was going through the file, and he actually saw that I had gone to Brown, and that's why he called me first, because Brown had a reputation as, producing smart people, and he thought, well, this kid must be smart. I'll call him up, and we had a really long conversation, and he called me back the next day and offered me the job. And next thing you know, I was the voice of the Muskegon Mohawks in the International Hockey League for 3 years. It was the lowest level of professional sport. It was the equivalent to the movie Slapshot. It was just like that. Slapshot was about the Eastern League, which was the same level, basically double-A hockey, which didn't go any lower than double-A. And in fact, in that movie, the Hanson brothers in that movie tried out for our team. They were the Carlson brothers in real life. They tried out for our team, and they didn't make it. They didn't skate well enough. And the fighting was attractive, but they didn't skate well enough to make our team, and they wound up going to Johnstown or wherever it was and making a name for themselves in the movies.
I read that at your second hockey gig, you got the gig over Doc Emmerich.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
That'll keep you humble throughout your life.
Well, Doc was in Port Huron, Michigan, in the same league, and we were all trying to get out of there, trying to move up the ladder. And I applied for a job in Oklahoma City, and the general manager, who was also the coach and traveled with the team, of course, decided that he was going to interview the 2 finalists at dinner in Montreal during the hockey annual meetings in June. And he interviewed me the first night, and he started drinking before we even sat down. He's ordering Blonde Dubonnet and all these other things I'd never even heard of. And I just stayed with him drink for drink all night, and we were just hammered, completely hammered. And as I staggered back to my hotel room, I thought, I think that went pretty well. And then the next night, he was going to interview the other finalist, and he called me up at midnight, and he said, "Hey, Eric, I just want to tell you, you got the job." He says, "But I got this problem." And I said, "What's the problem?" He says, "I don't know how to tell this guy, Mike Emmerich, that I'm not hiring him." Mike doesn't drink that much. And I thought to myself, I just got a job because I'm a better drinker than Mike Emmerich.
There are pros and cons.
And so now when, I go talk to the play-by-play class at North Texas, and they ask me, what should you do to, be a play-by-play announcer, I always say, and learn how to drink. It might help you someday.
Boy, that's changed over the years. It feels like that, because we hear stories about Galloway and just all those guys drinking in the press box, and that'd be such a big deal.
Yeah, there was always beer in the press box. It was, it was just acknowledged that was the case.
Also in the clubhouse, right? Yeah,
sure.
Charlie Huff would be.
Yeah, beer and cigarettes, too.
Right.
Guys would be sitting around their lockers smoking cigarettes and drinking beers.
I bet you have some crazy minor league hockey war stories.
Absolutely. And it was one of these leagues where players were trying to establish themselves by fighting, and the crowds were crazy. And there wasn't plexiglass. There was chicken wire in most of the stadiums, most of the arenas. And fans would come with pins and would actually stick the players with pins through the chicken wire when they got checked up against the board where the wire was on, at the end of the rink. Things like that. And so players would wind up climbing up into the stands, throwing chairs, not to mention the brawls that you'd have on the ice where the entire teams would be involved. The benches would empty and, have these incredible Donniebrooks on the ice.
People complain about social media. It has a lot of negative impacts, but I feel like that happens less now because people know there's a camera everywhere.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. I think it certainly has curbed the way professional athletes and other celebrities lead their social lives.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
No
for
question,
sure.
And I don't go to the same places on the road I'm sure that our players do now. I'm old enough to be their grandfather. But I never see a player at any of the bars I go to on the road. And maybe they're going out and they're just going to different types of places, but, never. And, the type of music that I go see is probably not the type of music that these, 25-year-old kids go see.
So had you done baseball before taking the...
No, I had not. The Rangers called me up. I was doing the Dallas Blackhawks, which is a job I got after the 1 year in Oklahoma City. And the Rangers called me and said they had a guy, Bill Merrill, who was going to retire in a year, and they wanted to kind of groom his successor. And they loved the way I did hockey, and they wanted to know if I had done baseball. So I lied, and I said that I had, but I didn't have a tape. So they let me record 4 games into a cassette recorder. I'm sitting in a box at the old stadium, the original Arlington Stadium. And based on that, they weren't sure whether to hire me or not. They were continuing to interview me and talk to people. And they had another job open selling advertising on the broadcasts, and they were trying to convince me to take that job instead. And I said, well, I tell you what, if you hire me for the broadcast job, I'll do the advertising job, and you won't have to hire a second person. And meanwhile, they didn't have a whole lot of money then. I'm in town already. They don't have to pay moving expenses. I was already completely vetted from having been in the market for 2 years, and they went for it. So for the first 5 years I had the job, I also sold advertising in the off season.
Wow.
Hey there, join us, the Dumb Zone, and our friends Mike Castleroy, Danny Bayless, and the Mom Game. This Friday, May 2nd at the CJ Cup at the Byron Nelson. We go live from the 17th hole. That's about 1 o'clock on Friday. We'll go till the last golfer leaves. Thanks to our sponsors, Tito's Handmade Vodka. Bring your crew and experience world-class golf as the pros take on TPC Craig Ranch this May 1st through 4th. Tournament has it all: incredible food, great drinks, and an unbeatable atmosphere. Soak up the sun, make some memories, and catch every swing with us. One of the most exciting stops on the PGA Tour. You can rank them later. Just know this one's one of the most. Tickets are on sale now at the CJCupByronNelson.org. Kids under 15 get in free with an adult. Don't miss out, Blake. Tito's Handmade Vodka is an official sponsor of the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. Stop by Tito's Clubhouse at the 17th and raise a Tito's transfusion to your day on the green. Fine print, distilled and bottled by Fifth Generation Incorporated, Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly.
So what is the year you started? I know 79 was your first game.
79.
Okay, I didn't know if you started as being groomed earlier.
I got hired in September of 78 to start selling advertising, and I had a whole off season to prepare to learn how to do baseball. So I was getting cassette tapes from all over the country from friends of mine. That was, you couldn't listen to other teams' games back then.
Right.
So I would have my friends in San Francisco, would make tapes of Lon Simmons and whoever else was doing the Giants and the A's games. And my friends in New York were making tapes of the announcers there. And so I got a chance to listen to, some Ernie Harwell tapes and Dave Niehaus in Seattle and, some of the guys who I idolized. And I would listen to the tapes and I would write down the phrases and basically practice. I bought one of the first VHS machines back when the VHS Betamax war was happening, the first home video recorders. It cost $1,000, which, was a hefty investment considering I was making about 20. But I got one of those, and I got some tapes of baseball on TV, and I would turn down the sound, and I would practice doing the play-by-play all throughout the off-season. So by the time the season rolled around in 1979, I didn't totally embarrass myself. I wasn't any good because I didn't have the pacing. I didn't have the conversational style that you need doing baseball. But at least I could handle the play-by-play without screwing that up.
Have you ever gone back to year one, listen to that stuff?
No, I'd be horrified, I'm sure. It sounded like baseball on ice.
So even in the minors, did you only do play-by-play? Because usually I think those jobs, you got to be a promotions guy or a sales guy or something.
And I was, and that's how I was able to get the sales job with the Rangers, because you did all that stuff. And with the Dallas Blackhawks for 2 years, I was selling all the ads in the program, selling all the ads on the broadcasts, selling season tickets, selling group tickets, all of those things. So I didn't like doing sales, but I was pretty good at it.
Because we're looking for a sales guy, and you're only working 100 days a year, and just keep it in mind, I guess.
I can make the presentations. I'm not that great about asking for the order.
Yeah,
I don't have that killer instinct to try and persuade someone to do something. I'll make a great presentation, and then, all right, if you buy it, fine. If you don't, I'll move on to
4 or 5 innings. Bring someone else in. So the reason
yeah, that's a good idea. Bring in the closer.
The reason I was asking you about the birthday benefit, May 29th, Longhorn Ballroom, the cause predating you coming out publicly and discussing some of the issues you've dealt with. Am I to infer from that perhaps maybe you could have come out earlier with those issues? It is something you'd struggled with for an amount of time before, and there was just a hesitation to be public about it?
Absolutely. There was too much of a stigma.
Yeah.
I was terrified to let anybody know. I went through it from 2003 to 2005. I dealt with depression and just kind of powered through it and didn't tell anybody about it except my closest friends. Obviously, my wife knew and my caregivers knew. My family, but otherwise I didn't tell people because, it was a sign of weakness. It was, who knows what people would have concluded. And fortunately, by the time I went through it again 20 years later, I felt confident enough that people had enough of an understanding of those things. Enough public figures had come out, and I felt basically that I had to, because I wasn't able to work. The first time I went through it, I was able to do it, but 20 years older, and with the medications, the anti-anxiety medications I was taking, my head was just not clear enough to do the kind of job that I wanted to do. So I felt it was best to stay away until I was able to wean off the medication and feel that I had my mental acuity back.
Not to diminish it, but 2003 to 2005, a lot of Rangers fans felt that's just my norm. We're very depressed in that.
Well, and it was funny because 2004 was kind of a Cinderella season for the Rangers, where they actually stayed in the race till the final week of the season.
The DeLucci year?
Yeah, the DeLucci year. A-Rod had just been traded and made those derogatory comments about him and 24 kids. And meanwhile, the Rangers have this terrific season under Buck Showalter, and they almost make the playoffs. Yeah, DeLucci had that hit. It's interesting you call it the DeLucci year. And I couldn't enjoy it the way that I should have. I bluffed my way through it, but I didn't really have the joy in it that I should have that whole year.
So you started, would that be when you started, was that the Seasons in Hell, or was that just
Seasons in Hell was really before that?
Okay.
Yeah, Shropshire's years were before I got there.
Incredible book. Certainly
really
you've read it. And that just made me think, do you have other, I like to read books based on the season we're in. So I'm reading a baseball book right now. You got a couple, top baseball books?
Oh, absolutely. I have a million of them.
Well, what were 2 or 3 off top of your head, best ones I know? It's hard to say one.
56. It's about Joe DiMaggio's streak.
Okay.
And it's written by Kostya Kennedy, who is a Sports Illustrated writer, one of the most gifted sports writers, I've ever read. He also has a biography of Pete Rose, which is exceptional. I also love a book called The Pitch That Killed. It's about Ray Chapman, the only baseball player who has
Cleveland
died
Indian.
because he was hit by a pitch. Cleveland Indian. Really, really good book. I'm currently reading one I'm really enjoying, which is Ricky. It's the biography of Ricky Henderson by Howard Bryant, another incredible writer. And I'm making my way through that one and finding it really good. And I recently read Lee Montville's biographies of Ted Williams and Babe Ruth, and they're all really good. And above all those, I think my favorite is called The Duke of Havana, and it's about El Duque, Orlando Hernandez, who's one of my all-time favorite players. I just loved El Duque.
Okay.
When did you start first visiting Latin America?
Well, we started getting Latin American players in large numbers in the late 80s, early 90s. And Ruben Sierra, when he came up, instantly became our best player. And nobody could talk to him without a translator. And the teams didn't have translators then. So I would have to find Jose Guzman, who was the only true bilingual guy on the team, or the bilingual trainer, Ray Ramirez, if I wanted to talk to Ruben. And that wasn't always possible. So I started taking Spanish lessons. And after a couple of years of taking Spanish lessons, I decided probably the best way to, improve in Spanish was to actually put myself in total immersion. So I started going to Latin America. I went to Cuba several times. I went to language school in Venezuela, many different places in Mexico, to the Dominican Republic, to watch winter ball, and all of these places where I was forced to speak Spanish. And, after a few years, my Spanish was good enough that I actually did an inning of play-by-play in every game on our Spanish broadcast, because we only had one announcer then, Luis Mayoral, and he was a chain smoker. And he literally could not make it through a game without a cigarette, and you weren't allowed to smoke in these press boxes. So he would take an inning off in the middle of the game, and I would come over, and I would do the play-by-play in bad Spanish. It was like Chico Escuela doing English baseball play-by-play. I can imagine what people were thinking with the grammatical atrocities I was committed, but it was really fun. And then within a year or two, the Rangers hired a second announcer, and they didn't need me anymore. But for those couple of years, it was really a good time doing Spanish play-by-play.
That feels like that would be more nerve-wracking.
It wasn't that bad. One of the problems I've always had is conjugating the verbs in complex tenses. But in play-by-play, you don't do that. Everything is pretty much in the present tense. So the verb conjugations are easy until something happens that's controversial or you have to explain something. And like one time, in fact, it was in Cleveland. It was at Jacobs Field, and Louis had gone out to smoke his cigarette, and there was a big argument about whether a home run had been fair or foul. And now I'm having to use complex tenses, and I can just imagine how ridiculous it sounded. And he heard the crowd roaring and screaming. He came running in because he knew I was probably about to jump out of the lifeboat, and he bailed me out. But that was horrifying.
Well, that's awesome. I didn't know you did the Latin America stuff. That's very smart. Off season, obviously.
Yeah, and I've gone to Cuba many times. I have a lot of friends there, and they're in need of everything. It is a totally desperate economic situation. Their communist system does not work, and they need anything you can buy in a Walgreens or a Walmart or a Target. They need it. And I go down there a couple of times a year. You can bring 2 50-pound suitcases full of stuff, and my friends down there email lists of the things they need. They prioritize them. And you could actually go down there legally. People think you can't. You can't go there as a tourist, but you could go down there under a category that's called support for the Cuban people, which is clearly what I'm doing. You could also go down there for professional research. And when I go down there, I go to a lot of baseball games. I listen to their announcers. I talk with their announcers, and their sports writers. And so I have legitimate reasons for going down there. And it's just a fascinating place. It's a bizarro world where doctors make less than $100 a month, and hotel maids, because they make tips from tourists, make more than the doctors do. It's weird, but the people are just tremendously warm and giving, and they want to share everything they have, even though they don't have a squat. And I love it.
Your favorite era, Rangers baseball.
Oh, well, it has to be the era when we became good, which was the 90s, when the Rangers, made the playoffs for the first time. Those teams with Rusty Greer and Mark McLemore and Will Clark and, Juan Gonzalez and Pudge. And those were the last years where I was truly a buddy with the players and would go out with the players because I was still roughly their same age. I was a little bit older, but I wasn't in a completely different generation. And those are the last guys, who have remained, friends of mine, Darren Oliver, Bobby Witt. I have phone numbers for all of these guys. I don't have a phone number for anybody, who's on the Rangers now. I used to hang out with those guys, and they made the playoffs 3 times in the late 90s. So, we finally had, competitive baseball to talk about.
Yeah. Mine is the 2011 team. Like, it's just so colorful, wash, just everything about it. So it's odd to like that team better than the World Series winning team, but I don't know. I think a lot of people have that feeling. Maybe that's just anecdotal because it's the feeling I have.
Well, we really haven't had a chance to fall in love with a lot of the players now the way you did back then. Those guys had been here for a while, Elvis and Michael and Kinsler and, Josh Hamilton. The World Series team seemed to just come about, really quickly.
Yeah, out of nowhere. Almost.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the other thing, too, is if you think about the titles we've had around here, it's about as different from the Dirk Mavs title as you could get. There was, that they had lost prior, and they're avenging that to some extent, but it just felt very different.
Yeah, the thing about that 2011 experience, too, is I really think it brought the Ranger fans together as a community, going through that horrible, excruciating agony together. And I really think it made the win in 2023 that much sweeter because we had all gone through so much pain before finally having the ecstasy.
Have the Rangers had exceptionally colorful managers, or is that just baseball? Because it feels like you've had some good guys to interview.
I think we've had more colorful managers than the average. Yeah, definitely. When I go back, I started with Pat Corrales, who is this real hard-ass guy, but fun to talk to. Don Zimmer, all-time classic baseball character. Doug Rader, who would drive his car into a tree every day at spring training to park it because he claimed he had trouble with the brakes. Kevin Kennedy, very explosive guy. Johnny Oates was probably the most normal, average guy of the guys we had, and he was kind of a quirky guy in his own right.
Obviously, Wash.
I missed Bobby Valentine.
Bobby Valentine.
Like the classic smart aleck wise guy, and who I probably learned more baseball from than any of the managers. Buck Showalter, just a brilliant man, but total control freak.
Hard ass, yeah.
And then you had Wash, who it's the way baseball go.
And then obviously Bochy
and Jeff
wonderful.
Bannister, who was kind of a volatile guy, in his own right, had this military, I'm the general of the army mentality. And then you have Bochy, the all-time great, who combines, the best aspects of a manager, into one human being.
So I had a play-by-play question for you because it's still a craft that I work on the side and obviously idolize you and guys like Chuck Cooperstein. But my main thing is basketball. But when I did baseball, it helped me slow down and find that rhythm and cadence that I needed. So you coming from hockey, you said you thought you were terrible in '79. When did you think you were beginning to get good at baseball?
It took a few years. I was really fortunate. My first partner was John Miller, who went on to do Sunday Night Baseball for a long time and now has been the longtime voice of the Giants after many years with the Orioles. I think he's probably the best announcer of my generation. And I got to learn from him a lot about the pacing and using your personality. And, I was really fortunate in that regard. And then Mark Holtz, who came a couple of years later, who had a real joy in his voice all the time. He was so happy to be there, and you always heard that on the air. And that really helped me to learn how to bring my personality out on the air. So in a lot of ways, it's just listening to other announcers and hearing how they do it and incorporating that into your own style.
How much has the pitch clock thrown you off?
It has saved my career.
Okay.
I would be retired right now if it wasn't for the pitch clock. The games had gotten so long, they had gotten so dull with the ball not being put in play enough that I had it. And then when I heard the pitch clock was coming in, I decided I would stick around and see what it was like, because I had been advocating for the pitch clock for many years, only to get resistance, from every pitcher that I ever talked to about it. And when they finally put it in, it knocked a half an hour off the games, and that's a half an hour of dead time that Matt and I used to have to fill. Our jobs are so much easier, so much more fun. The game is so much more watchable. I love watching the games now. I've gone from hating watching the games to loving watching the games, and we get out of there a half hour earlier. There's so many benefits to it. It's the greatest invention that baseball has ever come up with, I think, since they decided guys should wear fielding gloves.
It's interesting because we talked to Kyle Gibson, who we became friends with when he pitched here.
Great guy.
Said his dad would watch the games but listen to you, and hated the pitch clock because there was no time for anything else. It was, here's the pitch, here's a nugget, here's the pitch, here's something else, here's the pitch. It was too fast for him. So it's interesting hearing your perspective.
It's an interesting point. I don't do as much preparation now because I don't have time to tell those stories. You're exactly right. And in fact, when they started having the pitch clock in the minor leagues, and I started asking some of my friends who are minor league baseball announcers about it, a lot of them said, I don't really like it that much. I don't have time to tell the stories. All I can do is call the game. Well, that's how it was when I grew up listening to baseball. There wasn't time between pitches for the announcers to tell a whole lot of stories. You didn't even know where a lot of these guys were from. The pitcher got the ball, he saw the sign, and he threw it. And I listened to those games. I've got CDs of games going all the way back, to the 30s. And the announcers gave you no information other than he was a right-handed batter, he's a left-handed batter, he's deep in the box, he's in a crouch, he's not in a crouch. And, and that was it. There was no real analysis the way there is now. There weren't a whole lot of stories about how this guy got drafted out of high school and decided, not to sign and went to college and had Tommy John surgery. And it was none of that stuff.
Is there another rule change that you'd make?
Yes. And I've been laughed at for this one, too. And before I tell you this one, I want to tell you I was laughed at, too, for many years for suggesting there should be a limit on pickoff throws. And I was ridiculed by so many people for that. So this is the one that I'm currently being ridiculed for. And eventually, maybe they put it in. I want a limit to the number of foul balls with 2 strikes. If you can't put the ball in play in 4 strikes, on the 5th one, you're out, even if you foul it off. So after 2 strikes, you
just because there are guys that are good at fouling off pitches?
Because it's boring.
Yeah.
It's just horribly boring.
Who's our guy that hit like 3 in the same exact spot in the
Hulse?
Yeah, and
David Hulse. Yeah.
You get these 15 pitch at bats, 18 pitch at bats. And some people are mesmerized by it. I get it, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm bored by it.
Yeah.
Foul balls are not fun. They're not interesting. The ball needs to be put in play more often. How do you get the ball put in play more often? Limit the number of foul balls. And, it becomes the bunt rule. After 4 strikes, it's like a bunt. Even if you foul it off, on 2 strikes, you're out.
Make it the Savannah Bananas rule.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah,
the fan catches it.
I wanted your thoughts on What are your thoughts on the bananas?
I haven't seen them live. I've seen lots of the videos. I think it's hilarious. I love it. And I love they're getting ex-Major League players, like Mitch Moreland to participate when they're in Boston, stuff like that. I think that's really cool.
What did you think of banning the shift?
I love that too.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to see more singles. I want to see players not always try to hit the ball over the infield. And so, yeah, I like that one.
Automated balls and strikes.
I like the challenge system in spring training. I was totally open-minded, didn't know if I'd like it or not. I want to see the calls correct. That's why I like instant replay. I think the system needs some changes, but I like instant replay because ultimately they do get most of the calls right. I'm a little horrified at their reluctance to overturn a lot of the calls, but at least it improves the accuracy.
Yeah, they had that one a couple weeks ago. We were talking to Jared about that, the whole...
Oh, yeah, and the thing is that there are 2 things that need to be changed. First of all, once it goes to the instant replay room, it shouldn't make any difference what the call was on the field. They should start with a clean slate and decide what's the right call. They shouldn't have to worry about overturning something. Just get the right call. The second thing is the replay officials, the guys in that room in New York, should not be current umpires. They're colleagues of the guys who they're overturning. And those guys are going to be in the replay room next week, and they're going to be in a position to overturn you. To me, it's human nature that those umpires would overturn as infrequently as possible. They're always going to give the umpire on the field the benefit of the doubt. The replay officials should be retired umpires or college umpires, or some other baseball experts. It's not brain surgery to look at all these replays and decide whether the guy was safe or out. And I don't know how they do it in other sports. In hockey, there's a replay center in Toronto. I don't know if the guys watching it are current referees or linesmen. I'm not aware of that, but they shouldn't be if they are.
I got a couple more things. Don't want to keep you all day. But back to when you said you were, as an announcer, a young announcer, you actually listened to tapes from across the land to try and pick up phrases and this and that. Did you have a point where you were actually using someone else's phraseology, imitating a little bit, but then you realized, I've become myself now, or like I need to cut the cord on trying to...
No.
I just think about myself as a young broadcaster, used to actually imitate things I would hear. And then...
Well, I use the phrases.
But eventually you got to become yourself.
I'm very conscious about not using their inflections and things like that, but I use the phrases. I'm still stealing phrases. I'm listening to games all the time on XM and on the At Bat app, and I hear a phrase that I'm not using that I like, and I'll use it. A lot of the stuff that I'll use I got from Ernie Harwell when you're talking about coming out of inning breaks. Ernie was really good at that. He wouldn't just say, back at Tiger Stadium, we're going to the fifth inning, he would say, here comes the fifth inning, and here comes Al Kaline. Or he would say, Mark Fidrich ready to deal him in to Reggie Jackson, Greg Nettles, and Chris Chambliss in the bottom of the fifth. Things like that, instead of just saying, well, we're back at Tiger Stadium. And Ernie had a lot of kind of homey expressions, some of which were a little too corny for me to use. But, all the different announcers around the league have their own. And I've incorporated a lot of them into what I do.
Do you have a clock in your head in the sense of
giving the score?
Yeah. Because I was told as a young announcer...
Use a sundial?
Well, no, there are people tuning in all the time.
Right.
And you have to be conscious that somebody just tuned in a minute ago, and you can't go too long without, you think everybody's been listening my whole game.
Right. My rule has always been, and this was something I picked up from Jerry Howarth, the longtime Toronto Blue Jays announcer, every time a new batter comes up, you give the score. Without exception. It doesn't matter whether it was a one-pitch at bat to the previous batter. Just get in the habit. Every time you introduce a new batter, you somehow work the score in. Now, when you get one of these long at-bats, you need to also give the score when it gets to, 6, 7, 8 pitches. So what I do is anytime a count gets to 3 and 2, I give the score. And then I'm conscious of, after there are a few foul balls, when I start getting exasperated, I know it's time to give the score.
Are you resetting the situation too?
Sometimes. And I'm also very frequently, and probably not frequently enough, recapping the scoring in the game.
Yeah, what happened?
You tune in, okay, the Rangers and Giants are tied 2 in the 8th. How did this happen? Well, I need to tell you that, Marcus Semien had a 2-run single in the first inning, and the Giants had a 2-run single in the 4th from Willie Adames. And, maybe that's all you need to know. But I'm also, when I have time, and there too with the pitch clock, there's not as much time to do that as often, telling you that Jack Leiter went 3 1/3 and he walked 4 and allowed 2 runs and, was erratic with his control. You do need to do that a few times as the game goes on.
Did the cookie lady ever set you up, or was that just Grieve on TV?
She used to set us up. Unfortunately, at some point during her reign as the cookie lady, I was told by nutritionists that I needed to go gluten-free, and I couldn't eat any of her cookies anymore. But fortunately, there's a wonderful woman named Patty Patek who bakes incredible gluten-free treats for me and still sends them up to the broadcast booth.
And then my last thing, I guess I have 2 more because I was amused at, I heard you on with Jared and you were talking about having a mustache at one point, and you,
yeah.
And you have not fallen to the beard sensation of the nation.
Ooh,
I don't like the feeling of it. I've done it during the off season, and I never.
Yeah, there's a picture of your mustache.
I never make it past a couple of weeks. Oh yeah, there's the.
But at one point you said, "Hey, everybody's got a mustache. Let's try a mustache."
Sure, that's what we did back then. I even had that. It looks like my fro is growing out, but I even had an afro for a while, which was a big craze back in the late 70s.
Well, you look good in a coat and tie.
Yeah, let's go back to that.
Yeah.
You're in air conditioning now. Come on.
Imagine that guy, the streets of Havana. He's got the Cuban hat on.
Big cigar.
I'm told that you are the greatest immaculate grid player in history.
I might be the best around here, but there are guys much better than me. Tyler Kepner, who's a baseball writer for the New York Times / The Athletic, is the best. He's regularly gets scores under 10. He's absolutely phenomenal. He just has an encyclopedic memory for all these old guys. He's, you know, when he does an immaculate grid, there's a lot of black and white pictures on it. And that's usually a 0 point something percentage. But he's the best that I've run into. But I love doing it. You know, I do it every day. I do it while I'm on the exercise bike or on the elliptical machine. And sometimes I'll actually do it twice and try and come up with different players.
To beat yourself?
The second time. Either to beat myself or I'll try and get the highest possible score.
Oh, to the most percentage.
The most percentage. Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought this might be just boring for you, but it is a little bit. You have to come up with these other little things to Because every day I'm getting about 4 or 5, and then some days, I can get them all. But
I almost always get them all. It's just a matter of what the score is going to be.
Can I get an obscure reliever who pitched for the Rockies and the Giants?
And fortunately, I spent so much time with baseball cards as a kid that my knowledge of players in the late 50s and early 60s is still extremely good. And there are huge holes in my memory, but somehow it doesn't apply to those guys. I can tell you, 4 or 5 of the teams that Frank House played for and Gene Freese played for. And there was a discussion over the weekend on whether Brandon Crawford was the best shortstop in Giants history. And I could immediately go back and say, well, was he as good as Jose Pagan? I don't know if he was as good as Hal Lanier. Was he as good as Tito Fuentes? Was he as good as Chris Spire? Was he as good as Travis Jackson? All of those guys popped into my head, without even giving it a thought. And that's, it's really kind of sick, but that's how my mind works.
Was he better than Johnny LeMaster?
Probably hit better than Johnny LeMaster, but Johnny could pick it.
What about a Brewer Giant?
Yeah, you're now looking at today's.
Yeah.
Well, great. The 13th annual Eric Nadel birthday benefit.
May 29th, Longhorn Ballroom, longhornballroom.com to get your tickets. And it's a big room. We have a big capacity, but the seating is somewhat limited. So don't wait to get your tickets just because it's a month away.
We have a gift we give to all our guests. This is from our friends at Early Bird. It's a CBD and THC company here. You like this?
So he said CBD company, and you had a straight face, and he said, and THC, and I feel like you smiled. So that's
well, I do live in Colorado part of the year.
And while we're talking Early Bird and giving Eric Nadel his gift, why don't we just send people to Early Bird ourselves? earlybirdcbd.com. The promo code's DUMBZone. That'll get you 20% off your first order, Dan.
That's right. As we mentioned to Eric, it's got THC in it. So if you've had some Early Bird and you're like, is Dan now wearing a different colored shirt? It's true. I am. Early Bird CBD. It's not your grandpa's CBD.
No, but
it's got THC in it, bruv.
We're hearing on the streets can make baseball pretty fun.
Yeah.
Capable of doing that. That's how good this stuff is.
Yeah. It's perfect. Perfect for the end of a long day. Doesn't overwhelm you. Perfect amount. The 2.5 milligrams of the THC. A mild buzz without being overwhelmed.
What are you doing? What are you doing? You're all stressed out?
Take the edge off your day, bro.
Do it.
Relax. With
Early Bird CBD.
Great. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go.
So that we like to deal with anxiety in our way.
So what are you giving me? Are you giving me gummies?
This is a chocolate bar. This is a chocolate bar that you can get at earlybirdcbd.com.
I'm excited.
Promo code DUMBZone. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for coming all the way down here.
It's a pleasure.
All right. The great Eric Nadel.